Greetings and welcome to the latest edition of Yeah, I've Played. Today, myself, Matthew Hall, and
Jordan Hill
are going to be discussing a game called
Silent Hill 2, baby.
I don't know if that's the subtitle for the game.
Is that not? I thought it was Silent Hill 2.
I think it's Restless Dreams.
Oh, okay.
Baby.
Baby
is the full title.
My bad.
Silent Hill 2 was released for the PlayStation 2 in the fall of 2001. Developed by Team Silent, the game saw eventual ports and remasters on the Xbox, Windows, PS3, and Xbox 360. We recently finished the PC port of the game and played it using the fan-made Enhanced Edition mod, which, in addition to increasing the fidelity of the sound and visuals, solves compatibility issues with modern hardware and restores many visual effects that were lost during the original release of the PC port of the game. I said that last part pretty choppy because I lost a few words. But we're gonna, as usual, discuss the game in depth, the sound, graphics, mechanics, gameplay, difficulty, story, plot, interpretation, our experience with the whole thing.
Just kind of cover all the bases.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One thing we never really cover, because I feel like these are somewhat comprehensive discussions. We never cover the development, but there's not much to say. It's not like we can have opinions
about
on
it either.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard to also have objective. You're just like, here's how it was developed.
Yeah. So I mean, to open things up for the graphics, is that the first thing I had on my list?
We usually start there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, did it look good?
I thought it had I felt the same way as I did in Silent Hill 1, where I was like, oh, this looks all right for what it is, and then as soon as it got to like the cutscenes, I was like, oh, this looks 10 times better. In the cutscenes, I don't know if that's because of the enhanced edition or if it was just because
Well, I think the images were cleaned up, but also like, I mean, it is a whole console generation.
Yeah, that's
ahead of the last game.
PS2 instead of PS1. I thought it looked a lot better.
Yeah.
I thought it looked good. It looked like they used a lot of the same, tricks that they did in the last one. Mm-hmm. Like, as far as, like, they had when you're in the dark and stuff like that, it seems like only what you can see is what's generated, which kind of allows for it to... I'm kind of stumbling over my words a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you mean, though, but, like, especially, like, so the whole game largely is lit by your flashlight that's, like, on your chest.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like in your breast pocket. I never really understood like how that was working.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's like a military flashlight with like a clip. You know what I mean, or what it is. But
he is wearing like a military jacket. Mm-hmm. He's wearing the jacket from Jacob's Ladder.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, okay.
It's the same, which is just like a standard issue kind of jacket. Like I own one, but it's not.
But it's also like something that the Silent Hill games heavily borrow from.
Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. But you can see like the shadows of the enemies will like move closer and like they're more dynamic. Like the shadows get bigger as you're, moving toward them and stuff. So it is the same kind of thing with like the fog and like you're pretty much, you're like, what do I want to say? Like your field of vision is pretty like limited.
That's the word, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the fidelity is a lot higher. Obviously, again, it's PS1 versus PS2, and we're playing on an enhanced version of the game. But regardless, I think that they did a great job at communicating the vibe and tone. The whole thing, I mean, a blanket statement I want to make over the whole game is just like, it's the same game as the first one with like, it's like that foundation and they're like, okay, cool, we built that. Let's just like do it bigger and better.
Yeah, that's kind of that's a good synopsis because it felt very same like right at the beginning when you're like leaving your car, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, the road's blocked. Looks like I gotta find a way around. You know what I mean? You just walk around, you're coming into the city, and that felt very, very similar to the first game. And then after that, other than, like, it visually feeling the same, it really just kind of felt like you were like, okay, cool. They were like, all right, this first game was great, but, like, let's fix all the little shit that wasn't that good about it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, they still have all those cinematic camera angles and stuff, but, like, it feels a little bit smoother moving around. It's still tank controls, but it does feel better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I never thought that there was a camera angle where I was, like, put at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Where in the first game, that came up a few times.
And it always lets you, like, if you hit left trigger in the game, you could immediately, like, if it was looking at you, you know what I mean? And you're walking down the hallway, and I hated that in the first game because I'm like, I can hear my radio going off. There's definitely enemies in front of me. I just have to shoot blindly right now. But you can just like hit left trigger and it flips and pans back around behind you.
Yeah,
good to go.
It's a weird dynamic camera system. I don't think I've ever seen that in another game. I'm sure it exists in other games, but I've never experienced that kind of thing.
There's a few things that we'll get to as we get to mechanics that like and when we talk about difficulty that this game does that I really don't get why that wasn't like implemented in games until like for the rest of time. You know what I mean?
But it, again, in terms of graphics, I keep wanting to give the caveat that we're not playing on the original PS2 hardware, but the sentiment is the enhanced edition is supposed to be like a definitive version of the game for fans by fans, and so I feel confident like talking about the game from that point.
Yeah, I thought it looked good.
Yeah, and they did a great job just like really cementing like a fucked up feeling,
Yeah, where it's like with they obviously had different enemy types, but like the character design in the first game was very much like these things are creepy, but they're very like I don't know, kind of generic. A lot of them are just kind of like they look like they're all wearing like burlap sacks that are covered in shit.
Yeah,
you know
or it was like like the winged monster, and it all kind of felt like stuff like that could have been in like a Castlevania game or something.
Yeah, and this had like much more unique and like visually scary creatures. Like the thing that's just like two sets of legs stacked on top of each other coming at you, like that's fucking unnerving.
It's very fucked up, and they all kind of look like I'm thinking of like a meme where there's like I don't know if it's like a condom full of spaghetti or something, or like or like I've seen like Christmas, like clear Christmas bulbs like full of spaghetti.
Yeah.
Like they look
or
as
like
if
beans, like goggles full of beans.
Yeah, like the enemies look like like sausage casings just with like like sludge poured into them.
Yeah.
It's a very like viscous looking thing, even though it doesn't like move and stuff.
No, it's not like gelatinous.
But it looks like it could be.
It looks like it's about to pop. Maybe.
Yeah, it looks very.
If you pushed on it, it would kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like those fish with the big like bubble things on their head.
Nope.
No, I think they're a type of dolphin.
I don't know what you're talking.
Okay, I'll put a picture of one here. Yeah, and I also like the fact that reading up on the game more, and I picked up on this a little bit, but didn't know like initially like how intentional it was. But like in the first game, we're experiencing the effects of oh no, I'm forgetting the little girl's name. Alessa?
It was Alessa, because it wasn't Alyssa.
Right.
It must have been Alessa.
So, like, we're experiencing, like, Alessa's, like, trauma, basically, like...
Manifested.
Yeah. And here, because you are James, and, like, you're learning more about him and his, like, experiences, you can kind of see how, like, all of these enemies and everything we're seeing is, like, tailored toward his own personal hell.
Yes.
And they did a really good job at, like, making that feel not like just generic horror enemies, or even like not even just like quirky horror enemies. Like it really felt like a very cohesive vision of like this is this guy's fucked up.
This is his
trauma.
personal hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that it does that with the other. We'll get into it as we get into the story, but like with the other characters, you kind of see that as it introduces like new enemies that you'll continue to run into. They're clearly like a product of their trauma. You know what I mean? That's like their own nightmare. And I thought that was cool.
Anything else you want to talk about the graphics and visuals?
To sum it up, it looks better than Silent Hill 1, and it looks good.
Yeah, I also made note that the transition between the cutscenes and the game was really good, and like sometimes like better than modern games.
There were some moments where I couldn't quite tell, you know what I mean? But not in a way where I'm like, should I be controlling this right now? It was more like, can I still control him?
It was really smooth.
Especially there's like a scene with Eddie later on that was there's like 2 scenes in a row I think with him.
Yeah.
And those both were fucking like perfect, where I was like, that was seamless.
Yeah, it was really cool. Sound is a huge part of these games. Same person leading sound design on both games, and it shows.
Had a very same, like, it's so atmospheric. It's
Yeah.
never too much. Like when it feels a little bit like a little overwhelming and like they're getting a little like tinny, you know what I mean? It's very like loud and crashy. You're like, okay, well I'm supposed to feel panicked and uncomfortable right now.
It puts you on edge, but it's not obnoxious the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I made note that like in the first game, there's that scene where you kind of see Lisa's transformation. You like shove her in the room and you like run away from her and shit. And it plays.
I didn't hit her. No.
It plays Lisa's theme is what it's called. And then I remember that like song really struck me. I was like, wow, this is like really intense. The game pulls a similar trick with like using sort of like unexpected music choices for emotional effect, and it never really got tired to me. Like they were able to pull it off multiple times here.
There's this whole moment after a scene with Maria where like you walk away afterwards and it's kind of somber. Mm-hmm. And that like continues on for like probably just until you leave the area that you're kind of in there. But it was just so like I almost didn't want to
after you leave her in the elevator, like you
No. You like leave her on a bed.
Right, that yes. Okay, yeah. I remember that now. And
like
especially where you're at in that room.
Oh my God.
Like in that environment. It's like it's
and if you try to turn back around, it's like there's nothing left for me. You know what I mean? It's just so I don't know. Fucking that hit me. Like I was walking through that room just being like, that was fucking heavy. And like it added to that. If it wasn't for that piano, I don't know if it would have quite impacted me as well. You know what I mean?
I also have just like, there's great sound effects overall. The gunshots, the enemy noises.
Yeah, I thought the sound design was really good in the first one too, though. I feel like they just do a good job. The doors slamming is even terrifying. You know what I mean? Just like the sound, like they nail that like metal creak and the metal slams and stuff like that. There's enemies like coming below you on fences sometimes, and you can hear them like against the chain link. And
those weird like suction cup arm things. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't mention it with the graphics, but I think it's worth noting that like it works in tandem with the sound. The way, it's become kind of like a cliche, but like the Silent Hill like stutter that the enemies do, and the way they like scurry on the ground and stuff. Yeah. That's such a good visual effect, and like it never stopped disturbing me because it feels like a.
I always wanted to get them before they scuttled.
Yeah, it feels like an impossible bug or something.
Yeah.
Like,
it's the same thing that unnerves me about like millipedes.
Yeah, totally.
And centipedes, because I'm like, that's just not moving in a way that makes sense to me.
And sometimes they would do it immediately when you got an enemy down, and it was always just like, I don't like that. And like it doesn't really do anything.
I don't think they can hurt you because I'd run into them sometimes, and they just kind of bump into you. And
but it's so fucked up.
I hated it. Oh.
They also did a really good job with directing the voice actors, where it still felt like otherworldly and uncomfortable and Lynchian, but like not as over the top. And I don't know if that's in part because of like more of a unification between the cutscenes and the in-game graphics.
Yeah, it could be experience too, though. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think they could have seen, because obviously it's like they outright said that was their intent with the first game, and so I feel like they saw how that actually came out and how it translated, and maybe they were like, okay, that was a little too much. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of moments, and there was definitely a couple moments in this game where I was like, that was kind of, it's intentionally...
Yeah. It just was not as jarring as in the first game. Whereas like here it's like, oh, it's putting me on edge, but it's not making me go...
Yeah, because it's like sometimes awkward. Like the pauses between statements would be like, it's almost too long. Like you're kind of like it's like a very pregnant pause where you're why aren't you saying your next thing? You know what I mean? Like what's coming?
So overall, incredible. Just I think the sound is like one of the best parts of this series.
It's maybe the most. I mean, like visually, it's obviously like a disturbing and scary game. Yeah. But like if it was not for the sound design and the atmospheric music and stuff, like it just wouldn't be that scary at all.
No, it wouldn't be. And I do believe the same person is leading sound design on the remake.
The remake,
which is I feel like there's people who have done like iconic scores for games and stuff, but it's hard for me to think of a lot of games where the overall sound design, sound effects, voice acting, everything is so cohesive and like so integral to like the vibe of the game. Yeah. So I don't know. Pretty fucking cool.
It's nice to hear that they're bringing the same person, because that's like it's kind of what made these games to a degree.
Yeah, there's a lot of games where I might put a podcast on, or I might like turn the music off even on some games.
And in this game, I turned like my sound effects to like my music volume was like here, and my SFX volume was like half because I was like, oh, I need to hear more of the music.
Yeah,
And the
it's
sound
really
effects were
good.
good too, but I was like, it's just like, I think it was just my headphones are like too much. You know what I mean? So I was like, I need to turn down a little bit.
Moving on to the overall gameplay, like we keep saying, it's very similar to Silent Hill 1 in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's very same, and like I mean the combat's exactly the same. It's still like auto aim. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it felt a little smoother. I think what it was that felt smoother is like they found a better like pacing for the enemy movements and everything, where it's like like Harry and James kind of control almost identical, but I just felt like the combat was better paced here. There wasn't as many like really fucking annoying enemies where I felt
Yeah.
like it was like the game's just kind of being unfair to me.
Well, I feel like a big part of it is them taking out like those pterodactyl guys, because the pterodactyl guys were the main thing that like they would overwhelm me in the sense where like
Yep.
if there was more than one in an area, I am gonna take a couple hits. In Silent Hill 1, you know what I mean? Like it was almost guaranteed that like as I'm fighting one, another one's gonna swoop down or something. You know what I mean? Or as it's flying away and I'm trying to shoot at it, another one's gonna come into the area, or one of the regular little crawly dudes is gonna come in and hit me.
I could be mistaken, but I feel like most of the enemies that are attacking you from above are like mini bosses and like really significant
Silent
encounters
Hill 2?
in 2.
Oh yeah, no, I don't recall
Which-
there being any moment. Yeah, I don't think there's any regular enemy that comes at you from above. at any
Yeah,
point.
and I think that was a good move because like it's just really fucking awkward to shoot
Especially
up in
when
those games.
the camera angle is this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 90% of the time the camera angle's here. Sometimes it's like here. But it's never, you know what I mean? Coming from like, it's never looking up at you at any point that I can recall. And unless it's like a hyper close up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But most of the time it's looking down at you. So there would be angles all the time in Silent Hill 1 where I'm like, I can't even see this enemy. Or like the final boss fight where it's flying around.
That was
I
really awkward.
Couldn't even fucking see him
Almost
for most of it.
identical boss fight to final boss fight in this game in terms of like the mechanics of it.
Yes.
Like, and it worked so much better.
It was way better. It also was, I had ammo and health packs and this time around, so it was
Good.
just a way better experience for me.
I also think it was really cool the way they let James like look around at stuff to cue you as to where things were in a room.
Yes, that was nice because like I noticed right away that they hadn't done much about making the key items stand out more. You know what I mean? Because like I definitely would miss a health drink and then come back to an area and be like, how did I miss that? You know what I mean? But I'm like, it's just this like darkish red color
Yeah.
that's sitting in a thing that's all brown or red or gray. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what to tell you. Like I can't fucking, I don't know.
It's a good mechanic. I noticed they use the same mechanic in Eternal Darkness,
Oh, okay.
but the character also kind of just like looks around at shit anyway in Eternal Darkness. Whereas like in Silent Hill 2, it's specifically if there's an item to be found, he'll nod his head toward it. And like they also do it in Alan Wake, which is one of the first games where I noticed it. Like
I don't think I noticed it in Alan Wake.
I'm pretty sure they do.
I believe you're way more.
I could be making that up, but I have a memory of noticing that Alan was like looking around and like down at stuff as I walked past, you know, ammo and light flashlight batteries and shit.
Like, what are
Light
you-
bulbs.
You're
you know,
fucking me up. I can't
he
think of
loves
battery
the
right now.
light bulbs.
Just taking light bulbs out of every fixture he passes.
Yeah, why not?
Doing the opposite job of the lady with the fucking lamp.
He just hates her. I also found it really helpful that there is separate difficulty settings for combat and puzzles.
That's one of the things that I wish. The little lisp there. That's one of the things that I wish that they would have like continued to implement in like these survival horror games. And like, I mean, I get that like Resident Evil, the puzzles aren't like super hard or anything, but like it would be cool to see that in those types of games.
Yeah, well, I went in and I checked like a walkthrough and looked at how the different puzzles were handled on different difficulty settings.
Oh, okay.
And they would give you like a more complex riddle,
Oh, okay.
or they would
Fuck yeah.
kind of just like spell it out through like a very like simple metaphor.
Yeah, because I set it on easy for both. I'll
Mm-hmm.
be honest. I'm a giant baby, and I didn't want to have a similar experience to what happened with the first game.
I did easy combat, normal puzzle.
You're better at puzzles than I am. Like,
Yeah, but
just
I had to
think-
look up one or two of them for
Yeah,
sure. I was just like, banging my head against a fucking wall.
Right. On the easy difficulty for the riddles and puzzles, there was not any that I had difficulty with. The only time I'd have difficulty is if I had like missed an item, and then I had to backtrack. But it was also obvious that I just didn't have the thing for it. You
Right.
know what I mean? It
Right.
wasn't like, oh fuck, why can't I figure this out? And then I have to look it up, and it's like, oh, I didn't have this. It's like, oh, I don't have the thing to do this.
Yeah, there was only one puzzle in particular where I was just kind of like, did I fuck up? I don't know if I fucked up. Which was when you go down into the well, basically, and like you're just like it looks like you're in the bottom of a well.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's nothing
no
there.
way out, yeah.
And you just gotta like basically like pixel hunt for like the right fucking thing to look at. But I don't know if it was like on a timer or what. I felt like I inspected every part of that wall like 3 times.
I just walked in a circle smashing A.
Right, but did
against
you
the wall.
complete more than one round?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Because
I might have been
eventually-
fucking it up.
Eventually, I hit a spot where I hit it. And it was like, oh, this part looks different. You know what I mean? It feels
Yeah,
like maybe
yeah.
it's a little brittle or something. There's a crack. in it.
I must have just missed it the first time because
Yeah.
I really felt like I did the same thing.
It does that sometimes when it's the text prompts for things,
Mm-hmm.
where it's easy to miss it if you're like moving too fast or if you don't hit A at the right time, it won't like trigger the next one. I
Mm. Right.
had that happen at the piano when you're like, this made me think of Mary when she used to play the piano, and then I walked away. But I noticed that it almost prompted another one. I like went back and there was like 3 more prompts after that. You know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
like, why am I thinking about this right now?
I believe I had the same experience in that part.
Yeah, so that might be what happened. You
Mm.
might have just been like, nothing here, and then it's like, wait, you know, and you're just smashing A too fast.
Are there any other like gameplay things or anything you want to talk about? Anything that comes up?
Nothing. I mean, not much that we didn't cover in Silent Hill 1.
Did you use the tank controls? Or did you use like the sort of like hybrid control? You know,
I kept a default. I didn't
Okay.
change anything other than like, I think I have the brightness set to like 1 above the, you know what I mean, the standard. And otherwise, I kept everything default. And the tank controls were way better than the first game, I think.
I in terms of tank controls, is one of the better games I played with tank controls.
It wasn't nearly as awkward.
No, I went back in. I played some of Resident Evil 1, like the PlayStation version,
Oh, okay.
and it is really awkward. I know it's like a cornerstone game, but it is like really difficult to go back to in a lot. If you aren't
yeah.
like, down for that sort of thing.
if you're not prepared for that.
Yeah.
In retrospect, those games are very, very awkward. Even the first Silent Hill was still like, if I went back to play it after playing this one, I feel like I'd be frustrated with like just the walking around mechanics.
Yeah, I mean, I got through an hour on normal and was like, this is awful. And if I don't turn down the difficulty, I'm not going to finish this. And,
Yeah.
Or if I do, it's going to be like begrudgingly. And I want to enjoy
Right.
my experience. And it's like, I'm playing it mostly for the vibe and the story and the experience. I don't really I don't care to be brutalized by the gameplay.
Yeah, that's the decision I 100% made with this one, because I was like, you know what, last time I spent too much time just being like, fuck, how will I get through this next point? Like,
Yeah.
Whereas like I'd rather just kind of go through this game.
Well, moving on, we can talk about the basic plot and the story, and sometimes we go like kind of a beat for beat thing, but there's a lot here, so I kind of want to talk about each section individually and anything that might have come up as like a significant moment for you in this experience. So I'm going to take a quick intro summary from the Silent Hill wiki.
Wikipedia.
It sounds icky. James Sunderland has arrived in the town of Silent Hill, Maine. And of course, it's like everything's in Maine. It's Stephen King, right?
It's a spooky place, yeah.
After receiving a letter from his wife Mary, despite the fact that she suffered from a chronic disease and died 3 years prior.
Whoa.
The letter claims that Mary is waiting for James in their, quote, special place, which confuses James because he thought of the whole town of Silent Hill as their special place. So he doesn't know precisely where she is.
Not a very good husband.
No. Despite James wondering if the letter is a prank by someone with a twisted sense of humor, he notes that the letter is definitely written in Mary's handwriting, and the author is aware that James once made a promise to return to Silent Hill with Mary, a promise that he never fulfilled. So, The game starts. I think you're in a bathroom. Pretty sure you just like laid a big log.
It's like a public bathroom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to like think back to all the way to the beginning.
Yeah, no, it's one of those bathrooms where like, you can. I imagine like truckers might get some action there or something. It seems like,
they got
you
condoms
probably
for
go in
50
your
cents.
truck, but it's like, it seems like, if you're like a drifter.
Yeah, but you got to stop in the bathroom real quick, wash your junk in the sink. You know what I mean? Just freshen up a little
Is
bit.
a courtesy.
Just to be, you don't have to.
No,
but
you don't have to do anything though.
No.
No, but it is a grimy ass bathroom, and and he definitely did lay one. I'm talking about shitting.
Yes, yeah. He's kind of walking with a little bit. He's a little bow-legged.
Yeah,
He's coming.
no, but pretty iconic opening scene where like you come out of the bathroom and like there's like you're like on an observation deck overlooking Silent Hill, and it's like Silent Hill. You're like it's funny to me that like you would return to this place in this second game, and like it's like how do we show it? And I like that he like kind of goes into the town. It's not like he's not like right downtown right at the start.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Harry Mason is right in the streets of Silent Hill.
Yeah, you pretty much start out, you're literally like effectively outside of a diner. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Which like isn't, I don't know. You're right there.
So you're on this observation deck, and like there's a couple things you can interact with and look at, and it's like it's a nice like a kind of like calm opening kind of scene. It's a little eerie, but then you like go down this wooded path, not a wooden path.
Yeah, it's like I don't remember it being like a dock.
So like you're going down to the docks, and there's sailors,
A lot of them.
more sailors than there are boats that could fit that many sailors. So something's got to give. No, I played this opening 35, 40 minutes of the game, maybe even more, but not much more, on the sort of, the disliked, enhanced, not the enhanced edition, the HD remaster or whatever, that they did Silent Hill 2 and 3 as like an HD collection, and there's videos that describe this whole situation a lot better than I ever could, but essentially,
It got botched.
yeah, Konami was just like, hey, inexperienced team who doesn't make this kind of game, do a remaster, and we don't have all the source code, but here's a almost final build of the game you can work from.
That's my favorite part, is that like not only would it probably wouldn't have gone well because they gave it to an inexperienced team, but then they shot them in the foot by being like, we don't have rights to like some of these voices anymore.
Right.
We also don't have like, you don't actually have all of the game to work off of. So you're going to have to fill in these blanks. Something you've never done before.
And it wasn't clear if they didn't have the access to the source code, or if they just gave them not the, you know what I mean? It wasn't, it wasn't clear to me if it was like out of necessity or out of incompetence that it went down that way.
Yeah, or if it was like some weird, like, we're not giving you, like, I'm leaving out one ingredient of the secret recipe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can have this, but I'm not just going to give you.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, sometimes there's petty shit like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, what I wanted to say was, even in that version, I was immediately struck by this, like you're going down like a hill.
Yeah.
And there's all these like sounds and the trees and shit. It's a great opening. It was really powerful. I was like, am I gonna get right into combat? I don't even have a weapon.
I was really kind of terrified that I was going to have to start running away right away.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, I don't have a weapon. I have nothing yet. Is like the first maybe half of this game going to be me running away from shit? You know what I mean?
That's
Until
exactly
eventually
what I was
get
feeling.
To, like, maybe my wooden board.
Yeah. And then, what you wind up coming up on is a woman grieving in the graveyard or something. I'm not...
She's looking. She's lost.
But like she's like at a tombstone. It's weird that she says she's looking for her mother.
Her mama. I'm looking for my mama.
Yes, that's right.
Mother.
Yeah.
And my brother.
God.
And my father.
I've definitely dated women who say stuff like that, and you just go, "Oh no."
I hate when I've dated a couple girls who call their dads by their first name. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of uncomfortable.
I prefer if like anybody refers to their father as sir or
Master.
yeah,
Boss.
chief, tiger, killer.
Big dog.
Especially if their dad wears those big dog shirts.
I always want anyone to think of that when I say big dog. It's just
Good.
like the dog like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the fucking
There was like
beefy
a big dog kiosk in the mall as a kid. I was always like, oh man, these are kind of cool.
I had to wear those shirts as a kid because
Nice.
I was a big dog.
Right, I get you.
I was fat.
So Mary, you got the letter from Mary. She's directing you to go to Silent Hill, and then when you're there, you come upon Angela, and you're like, oh, I'm looking for my wife, but she's dead. Mm-hmm. And she's like, you're a fucking weirdo.
This woman who just called her mother Mama.
Yeah.
I'm looking for Mama.
And she's like, Silent Hill's dangerous. You should watch out. And this really struck me. He's like, yeah, okay. And she's like, well, wait, you're just gonna go? He's like, yeah, I just don't care if it's dangerous or not.
Yeah, he's just kind of throwing caution to the wind in this.
And he's so melancholy and mopey about it.
I mean, it kind of strikes me as like he hasn't had anything to live for since his wife died. You know what I mean?
He feels
so he's
very
kinda
like not. I don't want to say suicidal, but like,
he's given up.
yeah. There's
Yeah.
no lust for life there.
No, there's no
very-
passion left.
He's
in this
ambivalent
man.
about whether he lives or dies. it
Yeah.
seems.
There's a lot of apathy. He's just kind of like, I'm
yeah.
coming here to get her, and I'm either going to find her or die here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of his mindset.
And he's so chill. Mm-hmm.
He also smoked like a fat blunt right before
Right.
he walked down the path.
I forgot. Yes, and it's nice sometimes when you're
Great.
laying a big one. You just like,
Do you get done laying a big one?
yeah, or as you're doing it, it's like
you're
it's
doing
like
it.
it's like a it's like a bloomkin.
Blumpkin.
Yeah.
I always thought it was Blumpkin.
No, that's when you're getting head. While
Oh,
shitting.
okay, but this is
A
smoking
bloomkin's where you're
bloom-
like getting high while shitting.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Okay. I'm learning a lot of stuff lately. I learned
Ah.
what Beeson was within the past month, and it's all.
I don't think I'd ever want to do that.
No, I don't want. I still don't think.
Maybe if I was shitting, I would try it.
it's just a sensory overload.
So, when you leave from the graveyard, you're starting to head like deeper into Silent Hill proper, and there's a great introduction to combat here. Where
Sorry, I'm thinking of the sensory overload, and I'm like, your eyes are like on fire. You're trying to smoke shit, and then also like just throw in. You're also trying to like jerk off while you're doing all of that. Just the absolute like panic. I don't know. It's a very funny visual in my head. You can't open your eyes all the way, you know what I mean?
it's like a dog licking your toes. Get out of here! Go! I'm
You can't quite see
preoccupied.
him.
Could be several dogs. You can't even tell. So you can't see anything.
You're so high. You're not even sure why you're doing it anymore.
No, but yeah. So you see a big, like a wide blood smear, and you see like a creature like, and you go, oh, follow that fucking creature.
Yeah, might as well see what this is about.
So you like go past like some stables and shit, and like this is another thing where it's kind of like, I think they did a better job because Andrew mentioned this. Silent Hill 1, it kind of looked Japanese,
Yeah.
and I think they did a much better job making this seem like an American town. But it was kind of weird to have like basically like an urban type area right next to like what seemed to be like stables. Like that's
Yeah.
usually they're a little further out.
It's not like within walking distance.
No,
You
this
know
is
what I
like a
mean?
block away.
It might be like a short drive, you know what I mean? But like this is like, you can see the buildings from this place.
It was a little weird. So anyway, you head over there and you see the creature, and it's like, I don't know, it's like pulling on a plank or something. It's like doing some weird thing. You just pick up a piece of wood and beat it to death, and it's like it's a piece of wood with a nail in it. Which is like such a fucking brutal weapon.
It's the nail board from Fallout.
I don't think I used that.
It's like one of the worst melee weapons, but like every super mutant has a nail board on them, and it's just like a broken wooden plank with fucking nails coming out.
I
of the
remember
end of it.
now.
Yeah, that is an absolutely brutal weapon, because you're like, that's broken, that's rusted up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, that was. I mean, I'd use that for like the first fucking half of the game almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's effective, especially with the way the combat works and stuff. And you still have to do like the the Harry Mason stomp to
Yeah, you
got to
smash them on the ground. Yeah, you got to keep fucking until. In this one, it's like in this one though, I noticed the radio will kick off before they're fully dead. Like it tries to trick you, because in the other one, the radio would keep going until they were fully dead. In this one, it's like if you just kind of knock them down and knock them out, then the radio goes off.
Interesting.
But it could still be triggered. Like they'll still be alive if you come back. You got to hit them till the blood stops coming out.
You find the radio there at that same point, I believe, or right around there.
It's very shortly after.
And when you pick it up, it seems like there's a message from Mary coming into the radio, but it's all garbled, which I feel like. And you do later in the game get the rest of this message around the same time you view a VHS tape. And I thought it was very interesting that, like...
Fuck.
we'll get into the context of that tape. But I thought it was really interesting that they pulled the fucking garbled message thing, because they did the garbled VHS tape that at the end of the game in Silent Hill 1, you see the full tape.
Right.
And it was just like... It was the same trick, but they just put it like next to a tape instead of like on the tape. You know what I mean? It was interesting. Like, so I see it less and less in modern sequels, but it does seem like a lot of games in the 90s and 80s, like the sequel was just like, you know, let's treat part 1 as the prototype and part 2 is like where we really go whole hog. And it's almost, sometimes it's like a beat for beat. We'll take these things and just reuse them.
And that's what this really feels. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where, especially in this period, like you said, from the 80s to 90s and into 2000s, like, technology moved so quickly, you know what I mean, within that, like, 10, 15-year period, that you're like, holy shit, what could we have done? The game we made 5 years ago or 3 years ago suddenly could be, like, worlds different right now if we just had the opportunity to do it now.
My understanding from what I read is, like, the team had, like, some frustrations, like, developing the first game, and they were kind of like really rushed into making Silent Hill 2 almost immediately. And because of like how it was coming about and the pressure from Sony, like they wanted to develop for GameCube and shit, but they just couldn't.
Yeah.
Because they just didn't have enough specs. They probably didn't have dev kits like quickly enough.
Right.
But it was pretty much like, hey, you just finished Silent Hill 1, make Silent Hill 2, here's the new hardware, go.
That's like
and
another
so,
trope, I think, it feels like, from that period of time. Because the same thing happened Ocarina of Time into Majora's Mask. There's like an 8-month turnover right there. Ocarina of Time came out, 8 months later, Majora's Mask is finished. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What's crazy, too, is I believe Silent Hill 3 and 4 came out like within the next 3 years after... I think they're like 2003 and 4.
I was going to say that, literally. Like, I think Revelations and stuff like that, because those were coming out on like the DS and stuff, all of the weird little side ones. So it's like there was a little gap there. Those first 4 games, that was quick, yeah.
But yeah, I get the impression there were things they wanted to do in the first game that they just either like they got in but didn't get the way they wanted, or they just couldn't fit it in. So I'm imagining that there's some cut content basically that.
And with that like short period of time, it kind of makes sense for them to go like, well, this worked last time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Let's just do that again. And you're effectively. I mean, we said already, but like, it is just kind of like a better version of the first game.
You're
really
doing
is. A lot of the same stuff.
The first one is really incredible, and almost like in spite of its shortcomings, you know?
Yeah. Like, it almost shouldn't be... I almost shouldn't have enjoyed the first game as much as I did.
No, because and this is coming a bit out of ignorance, but like, you know, what I have dabbled in with PS1... It is a very difficult system to go back to. It is in that like awkward transition phase where I feel like there's like a golden age of early 2000s gaming on the PS2. Maybe a dozen games on the PS1 are worth like really, really like upholding. Like a lot of them are like you got to play like, you know, it's like when you got like a handicap in golf or something. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like it's good, but you gotta like create all these caveats to like really appreciate it.
You have to go into it with like a lot of like, you have to understand a lot going into it. Even I remember like, I had a PlayStation 1 for maybe 2 months. Because I remember my dad was like, I had the Nintendo 64 until like 2004. And my dad was like, I'm going to get you a PlayStation. And I was like, all right, cool. Got me the PlayStation 1. I played that a few times. I had like a Digimon game and an X-Men game that were both like really okay. You know what I mean? I didn't really like it at all. And then my dad just traded that back in and got a PlayStation 2 like 2 months later.
PS2's got like hundreds of decent games.
I had that PlayStation 2 until a year ago. You know what I mean? Like,
there's a lot of pretty good and a fair number of like pretty incredible games on the PS2.
There's like iconic.
I'm pretty sure also I think the next 2 sequels were on PlayStation 2 as well, which like was kind of like weird for me to realize is like, you know, Silent Hill 4, which is, you know, we'll say technically like the last mainline numbered game in the series. There was Downpour, there's some other stuff, but like that was like literally 3 console generations ago since that series got like a proper sequel. I didn't for some reason I thought like Silent Hill 4 was like maybe a PS3 game or something.
No, I'm like there was nothing there. I mean, PT was supposed to be the big thing, you know what I mean? To kind of bring it
I
back
always
into
forget
the
about
era.
that.
But then that you know, we all know what happened with that.
Right. Well, Kojima's an asshole, and he just
it's just 100% on Kojima.
Nobody wants to work with that guy.
Yeah.
Why
would you?
That's why he hasn't made anything sense.
No, it's why he'll never make anything again.
So James thinks that maybe the special place that they're going to, that he's going to meet Mary at, could be the Rosewater Park. I just like sometimes I put my thumb on this thing and it just scrolls to the bottom of the page.
You're like, that's not where I was.
I'm trying to read my fucking notes. But the path to the park is blocked. And could you believe it? You got to go through a building to get to another place, which is like, I mean, that's classic Silent Hill.
You'll do that many more times in this game as well.
I need to cross the road.
Fuck.
So I'll go 9 blocks this way, 10 blocks back, and through a building into a tunnel.
They do a good job though of like not making it feel like that. You know what I mean? Because like I kind of want to explore, whereas like there are like in more modern games, like a Grand Theft Auto game, or like in like Fallout, in Fallout New Vegas they do it. They force it on you where it's like, oh well, your destination from the get-go is right here. But you can't just do that. You've got to do this. You know what I mean? I
stopped. This is like a tangent, but I think it's semi-related.
It's fine.
I stopped gaming for a long time. I didn't stop gaming. I stopped playing any new games. So I was pretty much a retro gamer almost exclusively, and then played a couple like low-end PC titles like Hotline Miami and Binding of Isaac, which are basically like glorified Flash games.
Yeah, but also like 2 iconic titles. Also.
Right, but like not. I guess I mean to say like not especially modern.
No, yeah,
in terms of their mechanics and everything.
Yes.
So like the first modern game I really played was Skyrim. You know, basically going from like GameCube era, early GameCube era, because I didn't really stick around very deep into it, and then just
make it to
stopped.
Twilight Princess, yeah.
No,
because that was like
no, I did. I actually did. I did play that later.
Yeah.
I always tried to go in and play the Zelda games, so I've always been a Zelda fanboy. Less and less as time went on, because I was just like, man, I feel these games are getting like further and further from what I liked about them, and just whatever. Anyway, I just never played, like, I didn't play Morrowind, I didn't play Oblivion, I didn't understand like any of that shit. I didn't play GTA. I played like a little bit of Vice City one time. You know, that's pretty much it.
Those first few games are kind of impossible to avoid. You know, you're going to play them at somebody's house.
Right, and it was mostly just like, oh, cool, what's the cheat codes? I just want to fuck around.
Yeah.
So anyway, I took like basically like a 9-10 year gap from gaming, and then in like 2016, 2017, I was like, I'm going to buy an Xbox, I'm going to get back into gaming. So I bought Skyrim, or I was given Skyrim, actually. It was so difficult for me to be like, oh, cool, there's where I gotta go. And I just walk and be like, there's a mountain in front of me.
Yeah, like a literal mountain.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, can I just climb the... Oh, I can't climb the mountain.
You sometimes can.
Sometimes. But
a lot of the time you'll get a lot of the way up and then not
Right. That I found that to be the case immediately. Or I was like, oh, cool, I'm like making progress. I gotta like aim my jumps up. And it's like, then it's just like vertical.
Yeah, and it's just a wall.
And it was really hard for me to be like, how the fuck does anyone get anywhere in this game? Like, how you can't just like go to the place? Like, I gotta go. By the time I go around, there's not even a fucking route that leads over to where I'm going. It took me so long to figure out.
Super Mario World, Matt. You're not just going like this to the different worlds, you know? You gotta fucking give it the time.
It took me a long time to get used to that. And
That
and
is
eventually I was like, oh, because like, maybe where you go along the way is the adventure and you find all these new things.
Maybe
and
the real adventure was the journey.
Yeah. But you know what I'm trying, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this game does a good job at, and also a much better job at making, the first game, sometimes I was like, what? Ugh, this is obtuse. Whatever. I'm just going to keep going. Like, I got to fucking go over here to go here, and, like, this doesn't really make sense. It's a little frustrating. Not super, like, not super clear, like, what I'm supposed to be doing always. Whereas this game did a really good job at, like, being, like, you know, I always kind of knew where I was headed. Even though sometimes what I was doing seemed, like, impossible and, like, nonsensical. You know what I mean? In terms of, like, the navigation from area to area, like, you need to jump down a hole, or you need to, like, go through this building. And
there
it's
are
like,
multiple times where it's like, you don't see a bottom to this hole. Jump into it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, dude. What else am I going to do?
It did a good job at, like, linking all these, like, this, like, impossible infrastructure together in a way that seemed like I'm just going deeper into my nightmare. Whereas in the first game, it was, like, kind of like, wait, what the fuck? Like, I'm headed here
There were
now?
a lot of things that felt like the Seinfeld apartment. You know what I mean? Like in the first Silent Hill game. You're like, this is architecturally impossible.
So, you go through the apartment complex, the Woodside Apartments. Apartment complex.
What's up, Papa Cuppy?
The internet said Woodside Apartments. I don't think I saw the name, but...
I thought there was two. Although I think it was the Woodside Apartments, and there was like two sections to the apartments.
There's the East and West buildings.
Yeah, but I think they were called two separate things. Each building had a different name. This is stupid, it doesn't matter. But I think they had two separate names.
I was having a hard time finding it online. I didn't make it in my notes when I was playing the game. But as soon as I got in here, I was like, oh man, this is it. This is Silent Hill. Like, right here.
Yeah.
Like, the...
Even just being outside of it felt just like even though it was the apartments, it felt like the hospital entrance from the first game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think is the school the first level in the first game, or the...
Yeah, no... Fuck.
I think the school's the first one, yeah.
Yeah, hospital's later. Yes. Because you don't come into the nurses until, like, halfway through the game.
Right. But still, same vibe, where it's just like, oh, yeah, it's like these corridors, there's a bunch of doors. I mean, a big part of why I love Silent Hill is, like, you know, just walking up to doors and being like, oh, it's locked.
Oh, it's locked.
That's
Oh,
a great...
it's locked.
It's such good gameplay, and I love it.
Sometimes it is, like, a big relief.
No, I know what you mean.
When I'm like, oh god, please don't make
I'm
me
fucking
go
around,
there.
but also it's like,
Yeah.
cool. There's something to the process of elimination.
But 90% also of like the text that's in this game is just like nothing of interest here, or oh, looks like this lock is broken. It's locked. Can't go through here. Oh, looks nothing to see here. Oh,
Yeah.
There's some notes laying here, but nothing important. Or not any.
It's like everything's incredibly mundane and unimportant,
Important?
or it's like a horrific threat beyond your wildest dreams. You know, it's like there's no in between really.
Oh, it's either like nothing to see here or fuck. Those are the two realities.
Oh, cool! A fucking bed with like a pussy on it is like gonna kill me.
A bed with vagina lips sticking out of the top,
yeah.
and legs coming out of the bottom.
Yeah.
There's two legs are stacked together and welded together at the waist.
Yeah.
And they're kicking me.
But I loved the vibe of this. One thing that I really think is really sick about Silent Hill is like the fact that, yeah, there's always the chance for something unexpected to happen, but for the most part, you know when you're in danger because the radio goes off.
Yes.
So you feel comfortable exploring.
Yeah, there wasn't like and also it's at least with these early enemies, and it was the same way in Silent Hill 1, at least a little bit. But in this one, I felt like with the early enemies, probably also because I had my combat set on easy, you know what I mean? But it was like very easy to just go, I know who I can avoid and who I have to kill. You can always make that decision in the moment. You can always be like, oh, I can just run away from this person, or like, I've got to hang out here, so I should kill this thing.
It's a little
So I
harder
don't
though
need
in
to-
this one. I thought because the hallways were so much more narrow.
I killed everything for the first, like, 1/3 of this game.
Me too.
And then thought, I'm wasting a lot of time just beating these bodies on the ground.
I had the same experience where, like, yeah, like later I was like, I could have walked past that one. But
Yeah.
in the apartment, it does seem pretty narrow. They kind
It
of,
seems like you should. I don't know, because it's like... Also, I'm still, like... It's the first place, so I'm still getting my bearings, you know what I mean? And I don't really want all that stress. But it was nice to be able to... Even though, like, you could have the complaint of being like, this is just Silent Hill 1 again. But I liked being able to go, oh, shit, like, sick, I can tackle this the same way I tackled the first one. Where I can be like, okay,
yeah.
here's the west hallway of the first floor. I'll go through every fucking room in here. And then once I can't go in any more rooms, I'll move on to the next section. You know what I
Totally.
mean?
Yes. I like that
It's a
sort of
very
compartmentalized.
and it's a very, like, you get like a little dopamine rush
Yeah,
every
you're
time
like-
you complete one of them.
Yeah. It's like filling in that box.
Yeah,
filling
yeah.
that- And again, gotta say, one of the best maps in video games ever.
Hands down best
Where
maps.
it's like, you know, it's the kind of stuff where, and when I've made game maps in the past, I would make them just like that.
Well, I think that's what it's doing. You
yeah,
know what
but
I mean?
like, why haven't more games picked up on, like, this is a great way to handle?
It's the other
so
mechanic-
intuitive.
It's the other thing, along with picking your combat in riddle difficulty.
You know, I've seen
you know
that
what I mean?
more and
that
more.
I wish
Like,
was in every fucking game.
I've seen dynamic difficulty adjustments in more and more indie games. Like, there's this game Cultic that I'm really into right now that I think is so fucking good. It's been adding all these, like, dynamic difficulty settings so you can really tailor, you know, the experience to, like, what's
Yeah.
going to be most fun for you. Because that's the point.
Exactly. I feel like some games that are, like, exceptionally difficult almost have this, like, barrier of entry or, like, this gatekeepy thing where they're like, well, you know, you're just not meant to play the game then. You know what I mean? Where it's like, no, you should, like, you don't have to. You know what I mean? Not everything's made for everybody. But, like, you will get way more people to enjoy the thing you've made if you allow them to tailor their experience to
Yeah.
themselves. And not, like, change shit and totally remove stuff, but just be like, I'm not good at this, I'm better at this. This is the stuff that I like being challenged in, you know?
Yeah, and I like when you can adjust on the fly, too, because there were times, like, when I played Prey, like the 2016
Still have
Prey.
to play that.
Oh, it's incredible. I was like, damn, I gotta go down a mode. And then, like, I was like, you know what? I feel like I got a grip on this combat now. I'm ready to go up. And I was able to adjust as I needed.
Right, as
And it
you
made
went.
the whole thing more enjoyable. Because, like, sometimes you play and you're like, this is a little too easy.
Yeah, and
know?
you're like, I would kind of, I'm kind of sick. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Anyway, this is, like, a really just great opening level. And it did a good job at making you think almost that it's like, cool, I'm in familiar territory. It's
Yeah.
very similar to the first game. Right before, like, as you get deeper into the game, you realize, like, oh no, this game is way more fucked up and way more nightmarish than the first one was.
Yeah, there's a lot more like graveyard and cemetery imagery in this one too, and there's like, I don't know, it gets a lot darker with the subject matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
By a lot. Where the first one almost implies a few things, this one goes,
This one just pretty much
raw
kinda,
dogs
like,
you.
And like the dialogue, like there's a few monologues in here from other characters where I was kind of sitting there during it, like,
yeah,
Like,
for
this is
sure.
fucking-
It's heavy. It's legitimately heavy stuff. Small detail I really liked was when you transition between the east and west apartments, you go through that, like, you jump through the window, like,
oh yeah, there's that little kind of section where it's like they kind of built these buildings really close together. That's weird.
Yeah.
And just fucking hop in. Yeah.
I think that's a cool transition.
it
I
felt
don't know.
very Max Payne-y to me. for some
Totally,
reason.
yeah. It reminded me of the apartments in Max Payne. I also really enjoyed the red butterfly room where you, like, there's, like, you walk in, there's, like, moths and butterflies. So it looks like just, like, fluttering everywhere. It's like,
Oh, okay. Yes,
it's like a red light and you stick your hand in a hole in the wall. And it's
And
like
you're
something pricks you.
You start to go and you're, oh, and then you're like, there's that shit is like, that's the kind of stuff that, like, do you remember being in, like, school? There's a lot of those, like, it's just, like, white brick, you know what I mean? Big white bricks is most of what the walls are inside, you know what I mean? There'd be holes every now and then where clearly something, like, something was just drilled into there, you know what I mean? There was a picture hanging here or something at one point. Those terrified me as, like, a little kid. Like, I'd see those and there'd be, like, gum and paper and shit in there, and I'd be like, if I put my finger in there, it's gone. You know what I mean? Like, I'll pull
Yeah.
it back out and it'll be degloved, you know what I mean? Like, it'll just
Totally.
be bone coming out of there.
Just take the sheath off.
So that, like, very specific, that was, like, very unnerving to me that, like...
Me too.
It hurt him, and then he was like, better go back in deeper.
I think that hammers in, like, how apathetic he is.
Yeah.
That he's just like, nah,
He's ready to die.
I don't want to live no more. So in the apartment, we meet a bunch of the key characters in the game. We meet Laura, who we don't know her name yet, but she's a little girl who stomps on your hand.
She's a little shit, is what she is. You're like, oh, I almost got this thing, and she runs up and like a bully fucking kicks it away from you and then stomps on your fingers.
Yeah.
And laughs at you.
Yeah, she's a real asshole. Pyramid Head, who when you first see is just like on the other side of a gate, just like ominously staring at you.
He's fucking flexing on you.
I thought he was gonna T-pose, but he didn't.
Thank
And
God.
then the second time you see him, now this is up for debate. A lot of people go like, "Oh, he's raping those mannequins."
I thought he was eating one of them.
According to the designer, he's just like he's just brutalizing them. He's just like taking out his anger on them.
Yeah.
Because if you look, he it doesn't look like he's thrusting at them. It looks like he's just like basically like like a rag doll, just like.
Yeah, if he was like, ugh, if it looked like his hips
It
were,
is.
you know
It
what I
is.
mean?
If you look up Silent Hill 2 like video, I've watched a bunch of videos on this game like leading up to this discussion. Everybody's like, "This is the scene where Pyramid Head's the mannequins." It's like I didn't see that.
I feel like that's one of those you're putting your own thing into this. You know what I mean?
And the game really does let you do that.
Yeah, like 100%. You're kind of what you think is happening, but it really did just kind of seem like I was like, oh, he's fucking those two things up, and the game is
sexual.
Yes, like it's a weird what's his fuck? Why can't I think of his name right now? But weird like Clive Barker Hellraiser-y kind of like hypersexual, hyper gore, hyper violence. You know what I mean? It was very almost like Clockwork Orangey. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like big fucking cod pieces and shit, and like Pyramid Head is like a lean, you know what I mean, like model type body. You know?
Yeah,
the way
but he's like
around.
he is wearing like the apron and stuff. He's not nude and like I don't know. It's weird. It's weird how many people have said that that's what that is.
We're gonna have to bleep every time we say in this video, but he's definitely not doing that to these bodies.
Yeah, and I mean that's confirmed by the designer.
Yeah, and that doesn't feel like backtracky to me. You know what I mean? Like he's
no, because I deconstructed that scene. Like I went through, I watched it in slow motion. I was like, you'd have to like really. It's a stretch.
It just seems like he's terrorizing.
He is.
Things.
He's just like.
They're like
ravaging them.
They're like his like.
But it doesn't feel sexual. It might even be like like out of sexual frustration. Even I could see like that angle of it, but it's like he's just throwing them around.
They're like his like
He's like having a tantrum.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think of the word, but they're like his ragdolls, I guess. Really, they're just like they're like his like punching bags, you know?
Yeah.
That he can just do whatever.
So, you hide in a closet. And you
really
fire
poorly.
a few shots at him, and then he leaves.
Yeah, that was really anticlimactic. I kind of felt like this one interaction because he's there. You see him brutalizing these two creatures, and then you shoot him a handful of times, and he just kind of walks away.
Yeah, it's just a cutscene too.
Yeah.
Like you don't actually engage them, but also it kind of was like, man. I was like, when I first saw him in the hallway, I was like, oh god, I hope he's not like a fucking like a Mr. X or something.
Yeah, he's just gonna fucking break through these things.
I was really not looking forward to. I don't like that mechanic in games. No. It puts me so on edge.
I just put Resident Evil 2 down a couple times, the remaster. Yeah, when I was playing it because
did you finish it?
No, I haven't because I've been overwhelmed lately, but it was fucking. Like, the first time he just comes busting through a wall, I legitimately, like, yelped.
Yeah,
you know
totally.
Like,
yes. It's a lot. You also find Eddie for the first time. Like, you walk into a room, there's, like, a bloodied corpse hanging out of a refrigerator, and then he's puking in a toilet, and he's like, I didn't hurt him. I didn't even think he did. I did not make any connection.
That is a consistent theme with Eddie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But when you first meet him, did you suspect that he was the culprit? I thought he was just a victim.
I don't know. It was one of those things where, like, I had this feeling that it was trying to make me think that he was the culprit because of the way that he's, like, clearly it's suspicious. You know what I mean? Like, really suspicious the way you're vehemently denying this thing no one thinks you've done. You know what I mean? Like,
right, but imagine I walk into a room, you're throwing up on the floor, and there's a dead body next to you.
Yeah. You'd be like, are you okay? You know
yeah, but I would also be like, there's only two of you. Like, one of you's dead.
but I felt like it was kind of trying to get like, because you're in like hell, you know what I mean? I thought it was like almost like a moral test of you know what I mean? What's the main character's name? James, where it's almost like, do you just immediately, even though you know that this place is filled with monsters that are just killing things, are you going to blame the first other, like, one of the first other humans you come across in here for this and vilify him immediately? I thought it was kind of one of those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, and it is in a way for the player. Also, you know, so you leave him, you're like, you should get out of here. This place is full of monsters. And he's like, oh, the vomiting is so gross.
It was really upsetting.
Yeah.
Because it was, again, I was wearing headphones, you know what I mean?
Oh, God. And it goes on for a long time.
And even, like, after.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it will continue.
And it's also like, who has that much in him?
Yeah, that's a lot of, I mean, he's a big, doesn't Laura like just like call him, you're just another fat pile of shit?
Yeah,
like,
basically.
Pretty much.
Right before you find him, you find like a room with like a bunch of like football posters and stuff. It's almost like a teenage boys, like a sports fans room.
Don't super remember
It's
that.
not, there's not like a spotlight on it, but it's like, it's just one room you pass through, and it's like right before you find him, and then like later you find out that he had an altercation with his football coach.
Oh yeah,
And it's like,
okay, so he was clear. Yeah, so that's like implying that you're walking through his room.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he also states that he's not from Silent Hill. He was drawn there for some reason that he doesn't elaborate on.
Yeah, that's everybody. Inevitably, you find out.
Right.
You know.
Which makes me wonder.
Because, like, Angela, too, when you meet Angela in the cemetery, she's like, I came here looking for my family, pretty much, you know what I mean? Like, I can't find any of them, which kind of is like, are they lost, or are you lost? But then Eddie also is like, I was drawn here. The only one who I don't think really, like, mentions why they came there is Laura.
I thought she was looking for Mary, too.
Yeah, but it doesn't really mention whether or not she came there.
Right.
You know what I mean? She doesn't talk about coming from somewhere else.
And she's not affected by the monsters ever.
Yeah, you're like, it's dangerous out there. And she's always like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Almost as if she's not aware of them. And like later, we find that like, you know, like Angela is experiencing her own version thing. And you know, yeah. So it's like, it almost seems like, well, we know that Silent Hill is manifesting your trauma, your
nightmare,
sins, your secrets, whatever. So if you're an innocent child, like how could it?
Yeah.
Like
the worst thing you did was like stomp on this guy's hand earlier.
It probably
just thought that was funny.
like just looks like regular Silent Hill to her.
Yeah, I'm sure like the daytime, the regular world that you're in is what it's like for her all the time.
Yeah, because she's so nonchalant about everything.
And when she forgets, I always love like she forgets or loses so many things, and she's like, I gotta go get it. And you're like, what the fuck are you doing, kid? And she's like, no, I'm just gonna go get it.
Yeah.
As though it's like, why is it? What's the big deal?
So you also run into Angela a second time, and she is on the floor, seemingly contemplating suicide. She's got a big knife in her hand. She's like, oh, if you didn't take that knife from me, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah, she's like staring into a mirror.
Yeah.
And she's,
very weird scene.
It's really weird because if I remember right, she like doesn't remember you at first. It seems like everybody's kind of affected differently also by like the town. You know what I mean? Because she kind of like, you run into people a lot who seem to not totally know what's going on at first, and they're like, oh, it's you.
Right, it's almost as if like the fog is also like a mental fog.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like it takes a second for things to clear, and they're like, oh, yeah, that's what's going on again.
Yeah, or if like you let yourself, maybe it's one of those things where like as you give into it more and more, you know what I mean, you're more consumed by it.
So before you leave this area entirely, there's a second Pyramid Head interaction. This time, like, he's just coming at you. And this was a little frustrating for me to find out that, like, oh, you just gotta time it out.
I had to look it up.
Yeah.
Because I kept shooting him and kept shooting him and kept shooting him, and then I died, like, twice, and I was kind of like, what am I supposed to do here? I feel like I don't have enough. Do you even have the handgun at this point? I think you have the handgun.
You do. You find the handgun in a shopping cart, and I read that this was, like, an inside joke with the devs where they're just, like, you know, talking about like the sort of like ease of access to firearms in America. It's like, oh, well, if he just like finds one in a shopping cart, just because like there's guns everywhere.
Because somebody bought one and forgot to take it with them as they left. Yeah.
It's like whatever. And it's like, well, it's not like that. There are a lot of guns. They're not cheap.
No, they're not. They're certainly not cheap. But you can just go into somewhere and buy a gun. Mm-hmm. But as long as you're over 18, not a felon. What was I saying?
No, I want to talk more about gun laws.
Okay.
No, so yeah, you had to look up that the Pyramid Head battle was just a timer.
Yeah, it was just timed, which I was like, okay, but it would have been nice if there was some other, I don't know. I guess there's no way to know, really. I don't know how they would have communicated to you that it is timed.
Well, an alarm rings at the end, and then he leaves. And
Yeah.
he just walks. He like walks. There's like a stairwell that's like submerged in water. He just like walks into the water.
Yeah, and then the water kind of...
Yeah, and then it goes down. You're like, well, I guess I'll follow him.
Yeah.
But I think there could have been, if there is going to be like a at the end, they could have had like a some sort of representation of the timer
Yeah.
or something. Because it's not uncommon in other survival horror games to have a boss fight where it's like, you just got to wait it out and
Yeah.
survive. It's
Even
the
if it's just like a little
survival
thing
part.
underneath where it's like even if a little text thing comes across the bottom in like James's voice, it's like, I don't know if I can kill this thing. You know what I mean? I might just have to wait it out.
They could have given any context clue.
Yeah.
That it's the one part of the game that did feel kind of wonky to me. It was like, because you face him several more times, and every time I was like, do I shoot him yet?
Yeah,
Because also I think of Laura in The Evil Within. I think it's Laura, the Spider Woman.
Oh, I didn't remember her name, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who like you do battle eventually, but the first couple times you encounter her, you're not really supposed to battle her. You can waste all your ammo.
You can kill her too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But
You still have to fight her later though, so it's pointless
so it's like
to kill her.
so it's like you might as well not.
Yeah.
The game doesn't tell you that though,
No.
and even then though, like because of how you encounter her, it's set up like a chase, so you have somewhere to go.
Well, yeah, that I think is different though. What it's a chase, you know what I mean? Because you're running.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so here you're like, oh, I'm in the boss arena.
Yeah, because
like,
there's nowhere to go.
right.
You're boxed
Normally
in.
it's like, oh, well, I need to.
Duke it out.
Yeah, and that's like how bosses have worked.
For fucking
I'm thinking of like Super Mario Brothers. Like you go into the little chamber with Bowser.
Yeah, and you fight him. Super Mario
Yeah.
64, you get on the platform with Bowser.
Yeah,
you know
so
what I
long, Bowser.
mean? So long, Bowser. So long, Bowser. That's
Yes.
Chris Pratt doing it.
Man, he's so good.
He's such a great voice actor.
God, I'm so glad they're done doing that fucking Italian shit.
Vocal chameleon.
Hate it.
Fucking.
So, you eventually leave the apartments, and when you go outside, this is such a sick scene to me, where it's like Laura is up on a wall, and there's like children's like sidewalk chalk drawings on the wall, and you see her, she's like reading a letter, and you're like questioning her, and she's like, fuck you. Like it's so weird to like just see like the children's graffiti and like the way the scene is like framed. It looks really good. But it's basically he's like, what do you got there? He's like, nothing. Fuck it. Yeah. She's just like,
Fucking leave me alone, loser. Jesus Christ.
she's like, you never loved Mary anyway. And
Yeah.
you're like, what? Mary, that's why I'm here.
Mary, oh. Yeah, he's like, how the fuck do you know who Mary is? And she once again
Yeah, you don't learn anything.
runs away. Yeah. She
so-
gives you nothing. She's like the who's the lady in the robe in the first game? Is her name also like Angela or something? I thought her name was something like that. She's like the antagonist.
Dahlia Gillespie?
Dahlia Gillespie. Yeah. She's kind of the Dahlia Gillespie of the early half of the game, but not quite, because she's just she comes in, like, gives you information that doesn't actually tell you anything, and then you're like, what does that mean? And she's just like, all right.
Totally. It's the same mechanic.
Like, goodbye. You're like, wait.
I won't.
I can't do that.
I will not be waiting.
I refuse to wait.
So you do eventually make your way to the park that you were trying to get to before, the Rosewater Park, I think.
Yes.
And you see Mary.
Mary, is that you?
Oh no, it's Maria.
Oh, fuck.
It's a hot version of
Probably
Mary.
couldn't tell because of that slutty tattoo you have on your midriff.
So, this is kind of known. I may have seen the image, but like the outfit she's wearing is like, it's like it's Christina Aguilera from like the fucking Teen Choice Awards or the VMAs or something in like 2000.
It had a very like a Julia Stiles 10 Things I Hate About You vibe
Yeah,
to it.
but it
you
is
know?
like it's
It is.
like
the
a
literal-
1-to-1 almost.
Jesus Christ.
and
horny ass Silent Hill.
because like in
developer.
Silent Hill, And some people have like doubted. They're like, oh, well, maybe it was just like a common look at the time. It's like, well, I was alive then. Those outfits were meant to be iconic. Like anytime you wore something to an award show, you were hoping that you were going to be like the talk of the town.
Yeah, like you wanted to be recognized in that.
Like J-Lo in the green dress that showed her tits.
Yeah,
and
nobody's
stuff.
ever. Yeah, like that was my first boner. You know what I
Like
mean?
nobody wore something to an award show that was like a common look.
Yeah.
It was maybe a look that inspired other looks, but it was always supposed to be a trend-setting.
There's all those pictures of like Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears in the all denim outfits.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the bedazzled rhinestone fucking.
I just
denim
saw
outfits.
Marilyn Manson and Rose McGowan when Rose McGowan wore the dress with no back, where she was just had her ass.
Oh
out.
yeah. What a wild world we live in. We put these people on a pedestal.
The other thing I would know for anyone who's skeptical about if that was like supposed to be a direct rip of that outfit.
Yeah.
The school in the first game was proven to be directly taken from reference photos from Kindergarten Cop.
Kindergarten Cop, yeah. And I mean, you mentioned earlier the Jacob Ladders jacket that he's wearing.
Yeah.
All the Jacob Ladders and the Hellraiser.
And they did like another direct shot from Jacob's Ladder later in this game too, where it's like I mentioned to you guys last time, it was like the hospital scene where he's like on the hospital bed, he's looking up at the gurney and there's like all like the grating and stuff.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like there's a scene that's like that where they show like as if like I'm looking up the ceiling, the camera's looking up and you see like the chain link kind of like grating like fence floors.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a 1-to-1 shot from how it looks in Jacob's Ladder. Like they stole the vibe from it, but then in this one they just took the camera angle and did the same shot, and it's like a little cutscene.
Fuck yeah.
But the other thing is that the look for Laura and Mary was taken from the two of the actresses in Con Air.
Oh, okay. That's a fucking classic movie.
Yeah.
Classic movie.
I only saw it for the first time a few months ago. It was so entertaining.
That's a... Con Air made it into top 5 Duke Nukem movies, which is a video that will eventually come out.
I remember that now. Man, that movie rules so hard.
It's such a fucking... You got John Malkovich. I'm pretty confident Dave Chappelle's in that movie.
Yeah.
Nick Cage is in there. Fucking, God. There's other people, but it's an all-star cast. It's an all-star cast.
And it is absurd. I remember when it came out, my uncle and my grandfather went to go see it, and I was like, I want to go. And they're like, well, no.
Yeah, no.
My grandfather wasn't like a movie buff either. He wanted to go see films occasionally. But it's so weird for me to think about two of my like senior family members going to see that movie because it's so... I don't know if they knew going in that it was so insane.
Right.
It is like a bonkers movie.
Yeah. But that was the era of that. You know what I mean? They don't make... I mean, they do kind of make movies like that still, but like just like such like a high concept, stupid premise. You know what I mean? That makes no sense.
Well, it seems more like a John Woo movie or like it seems more Asian in general. Like a lot of those Asian action movies, like even like Hard Boiled and stuff, and
it's like they took that and then like had Michael Bay direct it. You know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly.
Basically. Yeah.
Yeah. I feels like we've gotten a little bit further away from the over-the-top absurdity badass stuff.
Yeah, like you've got to watch Crank 1 and 2.
Those are on my list.
They're fucking...
I know.
The second movie literally... It's one of those things where like the first movie ends with him like his face like hits the pavement. The second movie starts with his face lifting up off the pavement.
That's beautiful.
Uh-huh.
I just watched... Speaking of Face... I just watched Face Off for the first time since it came out.
Oh, God.
I watched it as a kid and didn't get it. And I just watched it again and I was like, holy shit, this is so entertaining. And it's like, oh, it's a John Woo movie. I didn't know that.
I had a friend who had a scar on his hairline going like right across like this, and it was because he had like there was something wrong with his eyes when he was born. He had to have surgery as an infant. You know what I mean, on his eye, and that was the way they did it. They cut in and they went in basically behind his face. And it was a joke of mine in high school to try to convince people that what happened was his face was horribly burned, and so his face was actually someone else's face.
They needed a facial transfer.
And it was a face-off scenario. I always use face-off as the reference for it. It's a long story that wasn't worth it, but I like remembering that.
I like to remember a lot of things. I like to remember that shortly after you meet Mary, she's like, well, aren't you going to take me with you, Tiger?
Yeah, Maria's like super fucking... It seems like...
I keep saying Mary, but it's Maria.
Yeah, I mean, it's like... You,
or is it?
You also keep saying Mary in like the defense. I mean, the character James. keeps saying Mary. Like,
Right.
Mary? Oh, no.
Yeah.
And she's like, thought it was me again, didn't you? Well, I'm not her,
Tricked
James.
you, bitch.
You get her pregnant. She's like, I tricked you again.
No. We're going on Maury. Oh, God. We have this app on our PS4. It's called Plex. A lot of people use it, but I just found out it has live TV on it. And I haven't had like television for like 20 years because when they switched from the analog to the digital signal, I just didn't get the box.
Oh, okay.
So I just haven't had TV
Yeah, it's been a good...
since I think like 2005 maybe.
Yeah, I've had it made way more recently than that, but it's been a solid 10 years for me.
But all these stations, there's a station that just shows nothing but like Maury and Jerry Springer and Steve Wilkos show,
Yeah, fuck
like
yeah.
on a loop,
Oh,
and it's just
hell
like
yeah.
and I can tell because it's the 4:3 aspect ratio.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So it's like this has to be like from like 2001, maybe
Yeah.
1999, and I've been watching it, just
Mm-hmm.
putting it on in the background, and it is like so crazy to watch trash TV from 20 years ago.
Fucking
Get
like Ricky Lake on there too.
God, I wish.
God, those
Jenny
shows are so
Jones.
It's so good. I had an ex-girlfriend who got to go to see one of the last seasons of Jerry Springer. Got to go to one of the live filmings of it, tapings of it.
She got to go?
She got a few koozies and T-shirts and stuff.
That's
and,
sick.
yeah.
My roommates for a while when I was living in Syracuse were trying really hard to get onto the show.
Oh, okay.
And they had a story, and then like the deeper they got into the story, they're like, it doesn't really hold water, and like we know that like a lot of the stories that people come to us with are made up.
Yeah.
We accept that we can't always like verify the validity of everything, but like you gotta like come at us a little better next time, and also like feel free to try again.
Yeah, feel free to resubmit this, but make sure
like,
it holds water.
Yeah, but they just couldn't get like past. They got past like 1 or 2 points, you know, because it's
Yeah.
like when you call a radio show, there's like screeners and stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you have to go through a lot of fucking.
So they got like 1 or 2 interviews, and they're like, we're not gonna be able to go with this time, but you know, please try again. It's,
Yeah.
you know, we're totally open to it.
That's how people get on. A lot of people have scammed those court TV shows like that.
Oh, sure.
Because no matter what the settlement is, the court show pays it. You
Right.
don't pay it. You know what I mean? If you lose and you're out, it's supposed to be out $10,000. The court show pays that $10,000.
I didn't know
you don't
that.
lose any money.
That's funny.
So you and a friend can make a fake dispute and submit it to the fucking.
There's several of those channels as well.
I used
You know,
love
to
Judge
bring it
Joe
all
Brown
full
and Judge
circle,
Mathis and
you know
fucking-
who's hosting court show now?
Who?
Judge Jerry.
Jerry Springer's got a fucking court show now?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Why do you even end the show? Oh god, I gotta see that.
It's pretty entertaining.
Yeah,
He's
I gotta see some
it's
of that.
obviously more toned down.
Yeah,
you know, but
some of those were classics. I used to fucking love Judge Mathis. Judge Mathis genuinely was like my court show. It's Judge Mathis.
yeah, he was good. He was really
Classic.
good. I never felt over. I don't want to say over encumbered. That's not the. Well, no, yeah, I
You
guess
were
that's a way.
over-encumbered and cannot run.
And I go, isn't there like a spell or something I can cast to just like get me back to Whiterun so I can dump some of this stuff? I really need some money.
I don't just want to leave it on a corpse and hope that.
Maybe if I joined the Thieves Guild, I could find a barrel to stick it in. The mechanics. So Mary follows you, and I was like, oh no, this sucks because like survival horror, like
I had
companion quest.
this immediate sense of dread when she was like, "I'll come with you," and I was like, "No, don't ruin the game." But like,
It is implemented so well, in my opinion.
you don't really have a ton of combat when you're with her. Number one,
No.
so you don't have to worry about her dying. You know what I mean? I'm sure there is combat, but I can't rememar it.
No, there
because
is. She just stays out of the way.
Yeah, so it's like that's not even really an issue. It was good. Why did a game that came out in 2001? Why is that like? Why are there so many mechanics that
Because
are
like you go
so
like,
much better?
If the enemy was like going for her, and
Yeah.
you'd be like, oh, I gotta like save her. Like that makes sense.
Yes.
Often because she's standing back, the enemies are going for you because you're in the front. Mm-hmm. It like. I understand, you know, it could be cool if you had to protect her at points.
And I'm sure maybe on a harder difficulty, or if you were really bad at the combat, maybe you would have to.
I've looked into it. There is the one scene
Mm-hmm.
where she's in direct danger.
Yes.
There's where you're being chased down a winding hallway.
Botched it.
I botched it hard. Yeah, generally she just like it's not a problem. I'm
Okay.
really glad the game didn't like make it a babysitting mission.
Yeah, because I didn't want to do that. I didn't
No,
want to do that
it
at all.
sucks. It's the worst thing in games.
It is one of the worst things. Like, the fucking escort missions are everyone's... Like, escort and delivery missions are, like, the two biggest, like, time fillers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're fucking...
They're done so. You know, another game that did it like I thought it was a little rough, and then when I played the game again, I was like, actually, it's fine. Resident Evil 4, for the
Oh,
most
actually?
part, yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't that bad.
No.
I remembered it being shitty when I was, like... When I first played it, but I was also, like, 15. You know
That's
what I
the
mean?
same
So I'm like,
experience. I was a teenager. I played it when it came out.
I was probably just a silly little goose. I was probably
yeah,
kind of dumb.
I probably wasn't getting it. And then when I played it again, you know, for this very fucking show,
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh, wow.
It was not an
It's
issue
like,
at
this
all,
is
yeah.
fine.
I
And
was
I
dreading
feel
it.
like they maybe took some cues from this game.
Maybe.
Why not? Why wouldn't you? It's one of the best ever. So you get to the park, you meet Mary. You're trying to get to the next place, wherever that may be. She goes, you know, is this your only special place? Speaking of the,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
you know, the park. And he's like, I don't know. So you're walking around. You stop into the bowling alley. You see Eddie and Laura talking. Eddie's chowing down on pizza.
He's going to town on that pie.
She's calling him a fat piece of shit. And he's like, who was that girl? Where did she go? And
I
he's
also
like,
like
Laura?
that she's like, what they have this weird moment where like Laura almost acknowledges that they're all there for committing some sort of evil crime or something, because she's like, well, what did you do? You know, did you steal something? Did you kill someone? What was it? And he's like, nothing like that. I can't remember what he says.
No, he basically just... He's in denial.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I know ultimately, like, his character like can't come to terms with what he's done. You know what I mean? Or is like in denial.
I would say that's true of everyone in Silent Hill.
Yeah.
And the only way you leave is when you come to terms with it, and then you
Yeah, because it's the same thing with Angela
yeah.
and Harry, kind of too. I mean, not fucking with James,
And Eddie.
and Eddie. Oh yeah,
He accepts his nature and accepts his fate.
and he gets to leave.
Yeah.
One way or another, he gets out of there.
Yeah, but no, that I didn't pick up on that, but it's interesting that you note that she. I do wonder more and more about like what her role is, because she seems to be.
She has Alessa vibes. She has Dahlia Gillespie vibes. You can't. She has this feeling of being this totally innocent, you know what I mean, role in it, where she is, you know what I mean, just innocent, you know what I mean? When she does stuff mean, it's really not meant in meanness. It's kind of because you've been mean. And when she, you know, but then she also seems to kind of know what's going on here. She knows more about Mary than you do.
But she also doesn't know a lot. It's like very
Yeah.
contradictory.
That's the thing, Gore. That's where it has like those Alessa vibes, where she still is a victim, but a powerful victim. You know what I mean? Almost like a tool to a degree. Like, I can't tell. And it never. Obviously, we both finished the game. You looked into the other endings, so you'd know more than I would. But like, it never gives you anything on that.
No, it doesn't, and it's one of those things that's left open to interpretation, which is why it's worth talking about now. You know.
Yeah.
The secrets are you know, keeping a secret is very powerful in storytelling.
But she 100% acknowledges right here that she knows that they're all there. And I mean, I'm sure the other ones have figured it out and just don't acknowledge it. You know what I mean? Because it seems like by giving an answer and not being like, what do you mean? You're acknowledging that you also know that. But like, I don't know. Also, how long have they been here? Because you're just showing up.
That's the other thing I was
And
wondering
Angela's
too.
just showing up with you.
Like Laura seemed pretty acclimated to the place.
Yeah.
Like, how long had she been there? So, what'd you think of Eddie eating the pizza?
What do you think of that fat fuck stuff in his face? More gross mouth noises.
Yeah.
Not as bad as the vomiting.
Uh,
It's still kind of like unsettling.
So Laura runs out, and you go out to chase her, and Mary's like, she got away from me. She was too fast.
Maria.
I'm sorry.
Mary's maybe dead, Matt.
Maybe.
We don't know.
Maybe.
Is this letter from her? Could this mean she's not dead?
Sometimes. I don't know.
Sometimes. Usually. They mostly come out at night. Mostly.
Is that Aliens?
Yeah.
South Park doing Aliens?
Yeah. Mostly.
God. It's like... They do the same thing, I think, in RoboCop 3, where it's like, don't give the protagonist a little kid to care about. I don't like that.
Yeah, it's kind of dumb. And Waterworld.
Yeah. Oh, God,
Kevin
yeah.
Costner's got to look after Deb from Napoleon Dynamite the whole time.
Wow, I didn't make that connection.
Yeah, she's Deb from Napoleon Dynamite.
I see it now in my mind's eye. So there's a club you couldn't get into earlier, and you're trying to get in there for some reason. And
You're trying to get laid, but
right.
you're just not dressed.
Maria, I said
You're dressed like a school shooter, and so they won't let you into the club.
You are dressed like a school shooter. Maria's like, you trying to get into that building? And James is like, door doesn't work. Door don't work. And she's like, check this out. She just like fucking pulls a key out and like gets it. It's like a strip club. It's Heaven's Night. And there's
Diamond dolls.
I want to look this up so I can say it specifically. So give me a moment here because this is very fucking funny to me. There is some really top-notch Silent Hill merch.
Well, they got
The dog from the dog ending, the Welcome to Silent Hill Town sign.
Dog with the disco ball.
Oh, that's so good. They got the maps, like Shadow Box, the fucking symbol, the fucking
the stack of the red squares.
yeah.
Oh, I'd get that in a minute.
Oh, the piano puzzle. That I was gonna get the blanket.
The old Silent Hill map.
Yeah.
I'd get the frame art. I have a.
It looks really nice.
I have a framed map from that Lord of Maps website or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Of the Commonwealth.
Nice.
From Fallout, and that looks fucking sick.
But the thing I thought was really, really fucking amusing on here is the Heaven's Night poster, which is a poster for the Heaven's Night, club, and it says featuring a hot doppelganger of your dead wife, and it's really fucking funny.
That's so.
Because that's what she is.
That is 100%. She's like the bad girl version of, you know what I mean? She's like because her midriff's exposed and she's got a tattoo and she's wearing like eyeliner.
She's got a little choker and stuff.
And she's got like a kind of a jagged haircut. Like maybe she cut her hair herself, And
it's like man.
She's not mean, but she's like a little bit.
She's
harsher.
edgy.
She's edgier. That's the word. Yeah.
So it's very funny that they're
a hot doppelganger of your dead wife.
It's rare that like the merch from the big video game company would be that self-aware and funny.
Yeah, that's great. That's 10 out of 10.
So, anyway,
fucking patrons, if you want any fans, buy this shit for us. I'll give you our one of our addresses. We'll give you Andrew's address.
The fuck is this shit? A weird box came to my place. I can't open it. I'm scared.
Why would I open it?
Why would I open a box?
Have you guys heard of anthrax? I don't. You guys are stupid for not being afraid of this.
Mary lets you.
Right. We're making fun of him.
He's a scaredy cat. He admits it.
I know. He's one of the most scared people. Oh. Okay.
Some people refuse to be a victim. Some people don't. Mary lets you into Heaven's Night. You walk around. Nothing much really happens here, but you pass through. Because I knew about like Heaven's. I've like heard that like Heaven's Night, and I thought it was a more significant part of the game. It's like it's one of the you just like walk through it.
It's really just like I can't remember
it's like a corridor.
I only remember the name because it was Heaven's Night. It's a strip club, and it implied Maria worked there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Other than that, I wouldn't have remembered it.
And I understand the greater significance in the fact that like it does seem like a lot of the world that we're experiencing is a manifestation of James's own sexual frustration. Mm-hmm. It's not. I mean, the game makes no qualms about covering like lust in all forms, mm-hmm. whether it's like a vile like criminal like wicked like violent lust, mm-hmm. or if it's just like lust for like a stripper because you're like a horny guy looking at a naked chick, what I mean? It's like or like a woman you love. You know, it's like it covers like the whole gamut of like
or that like
sexual feelings and like what those can be positive or negative.
The one that like they focused on more towards the end, and like just kind of the topic they focus on more towards the end is like that, like having someone feeling bad for having those feelings also. You know what I mean? Being like, I shouldn't be feeling this way, and it wasn't overtly sexual at the end, but like covering those dynamic emotions. You know what I mean? It's very, like we said earlier, heavy game. Heavy game.
So
way sadder.
it makes sense implying that that like Maria is a stripper possibly.
Yeah.
It does add depth to the character. I was just hoping for a little bit more time there or something.
Or like another cutscene in there, a little more character building.
Yeah, something more than for me just to go, oh, I get what you... But also I see why it'd be like kind of like it could put the game into like AO territory if they were gonna linger too much on that.
Oh yeah, I guess yeah. If you focus on that subject matter too much, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice to just see anything more happen in there.
Yeah.
It really set it up to be more of a set piece.
Yeah.
You know, it was just kind of like, I'm walking through here.
Right.
You know.
But you see Laura in the distance when you're outside, and she's heading toward the Brookhaven Hospital. And of course, I mean, how could it be a Silent Hill game if you don't go to a hospital?
You gotta go hospital. You gotta see nurses.
I want someone to take me to the hospital.
Someone take me to hospital.
So this is where you get the introduction of the bubble butt nurse. I'm sorry, bubble head nurse is what it's called. And the names of these enemies, like you were about halfway through the game the other night, and you were like, "Oh, I just beat this boss," and I was like, "What? Can you describe it?" And you were like, "It's kind of like a bed." And that boss is called the Abstract Daddy.
Oh. Well, yeah, I mean, in context, that makes sense. You know what I mean?
But it's like these names are a lot.
Bubblehead nurse.
So you go through the hospital for a while. Maria like coughs. She starts feeling sick, and she's like, "Oh, I'm just hungover. It's fine. I just gotta lay down or whatever."
She's like, "Just leave me in here. I'll be good. Come back for me later."
And of course, it's like echoes of like, "Oh no, Maria was sick. Now Mary's getting sick." You know, you're feeling that.
Yeah, I think he even says it later on. He like finds. I'm getting a little, just not even that far ahead, but he finds like empty medicine bottles, and he's like, "Oh, she's getting sick now too. Oh no, how's it?" You know what I mean? And it's like it is like that. He's getting that same sense of dread and panic he did.
Yeah, well, it also seems like with Maria, you know, as we see, like again, I'll get ahead of myself here. You do watch her die several times. He's stuck in a loop of watching this woman, whether it's Maria or Mary or whatever she represents, of watching her suffer and die over and over.
A representation of the woman he loves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And her pain and her death.
And mostly feeling like he's failing her in some way. You know what I mean?
And she indicates that he's failing her. Because, you know, at one point, you know, we'll get into it later, but she, like, blames him for it when he's like...
Yep.
Yeah. So there's another encounter with Pyramid Head, like you're on the roof, you're like looking around, and he just pushes you off the roof. I really liked that.
You just got fucking pranked.
I really liked the big puzzle box. You got to find a bunch of keys and codes, and then you open up this thing. It's like,
oh yeah, it's one that's like wrapped in chains and shit. Yeah.
You open it up and there's like a strand of hair.
Yes, that was the most stupid fucking thing. And then I need you to know that puzzle with the strand of hair and the bent needle. I knew what I needed to do, but it's like. The way that the order in which you select them seems to be important.
That's something I wanted to mention that I forgot about. When you do have to combine items, it's awkward. I don't really even fully I got through it, obviously.
Yeah.
I actually beat the game.
You only have to do it twice, I think.
But it is like, you like combine in the menu and then use, and then you use in the environment, but like normally what you do is you combine the items. You're like, you have combined item now.
Yeah, like,
do you want to use that item?
I think Resident Evil, when I think of combining items, I think you have red herb.
I think even Silent Hill 1 it worked that way.
Yeah, I don't remember combining items in the first game, but I could be
wrong too, but I thought you did.
But you probably do. You know what I mean? I don't fucking remember though.
Someone's gonna know.
So someone to tell us in the comments. Let us know, and we won't know until weeks after this. But anyway,
I'm live streaming this right now.
Okay.
So sorry. We both said some stuff we shouldn't have.
Shit.
It definitely got that. My first mistake.
That flub you made earlier.
It was a completely by
It
accident.
was so funny. He was laughing from the other room. God, that was a rough one. Like, thank God it was me. You know what I mean? Like, that you flubbed that up in front of. Anyway, I don't even remember what we were saying. Oh, the combining is like, it's the most obtuse mechanic of the game. Because it seems like, in this particular one, there was an order you had to combine them in. It seems weird that you have to hit combine on the item, then hit B to exit out of the item, go to the next item, hit A again, then hit combine, and then hit use. But if you hit combine and then you hit B and then you try to go back to the item, it won't work. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, which when I first did it, I was like, oh, I guess I'm not. I was like, man, this puzzle's not that crazy. I'm almost positive I got the right fucking combo here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm just making like a disgusting fish hook right now to try to like get this out of here. Like a nightmarish fish hook made of like sewer drain hair. Like, you know what I mean? Like clog.
But I really liked that. Later,
You did really like it? You liked the...
I liked the absurdity of the hair in the thing.
The
where
single
it's like,
strand of hair. There's another moment that I mentioned to you outside of this, and I'm pretty sure it's also in the hospital, so I can definitely mention it. And you need Maria's help to do it.
the refrigerator. Which I thought the fridge in the first game is the one hit kill.
Yeah. You have to, and they both have rings involved, but in the first game there's a fridge. You have to connect two chain links with a ring so that you can grab a sword so that the thing doesn't kill you. And it's one of the more obtuse puzzles in the game. The most obtuse.
It's trial and error
we
puzzle.
I think we all had to like... No.
We all got fucked by it.
Yeah, like we all got very frustrated by it. But this one was like, you get there and you're like, oh, you can't open it, it's too heavy. I'm like, oh, okay. But as I went to open it the first time, I'm like, this is also going to kill me. And then you come back there with Maria and I'm like, this is going to be a mini-boss. I'm getting ready to open it and
It's a big room.
Yeah.
It's in the center of the
the
room.
only thing in the room is the fridge. And there's a bunch of pillars that seem like you could hide behind or run around.
They're setting you up.
And she's like, oh, really? You can't open that on your own? And I'm like, yeah, she's going to die here or get sucked in or some bunch of tentacles and arms are going to come out of this thing. You open it up and there's a single lead ring
Yeah.
sitting in it.
And it is funny, once again, like you just said it, but like just the mirroring the last game where it's like the ring in the fridge.
Yeah. Oh, you remember, right? You remember the ring in the fridge.
And it's a nice, to me, I prefer that it's these sort of like 3 degrees removed sort of references to the first game rather than just like, remember this? It's like, oh, actually, if I think about it abstractly, I do remember that. But like, it easily could have gone over my head.
And it almost kind of feels like, it's again like with the poster, the self-awareness from them, where it's like, it almost feels like they're saying like, we knew you were going to be filled with the sense of dread because of how bad that was. Whether it's like, just because it was scary or they were like, we acknowledge that was maybe too obtuse and that was a bad puzzle. Yeah. So, haha, we got a prank on you. Yeah. Don't worry.
It was very funny.
I enjoyed that moment.
So, not long after this, you run into Laura again. And you're like, Laura, we gotta get out of here.
Every time you're like, Laura, come on.
And she's just like, what? Why do you care, weird man?
Yeah, she's so mean to you. She's like, she bullies you.
Yeah.
This child bullies you throughout
the game.
Yeah,
and you take it. But what I really enjoyed was like, she's like, oh, I lost my letter from Mary. And you're like, letter from Mary? That's the most important. Yeah. She's like, oh, it's in this room. Just go grab it. And I was like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah. It was one of those things. Even he kind of acknowledges it. Like, he walks in the room and she's still outside. And he's like, Laura, what are you doing? And she's like, it's all the way in the back inside the desk. And he's like, okay, I guess. Boom.
Yeah. You're locked in there.
And then, like, fucking A, man. There's multiple moments.
I want to say, this enemy is called the Flesh Lips. In case you want to reference it at all.
I have something like called that at home. No, I don't. But anyways, I'll never buy a male sex toy because I'm afraid I'll never leave my house again.
They're not that great.
I know, but I don't know. I jerk off enough.
You know what someone told me? You know, the moment you need a fleshlight the most is seconds after you ordered it.
That's a very good point.
That's the most excruciating weight.
So what you're saying is I should order it now,
Yeah.
before I reach that point.
Yeah.
That's really fun. It's a really funny perspective.
And to get very real,
Okay. We're gonna stay on this topic.
I'm gonna stay on this
That's
topic.
fine. I'm cool with it.
Because I bought one. I was single for a while. Mm-hmm. It's not fun to clean up.
I fucking bet. That's the.
It has to air dry.
Yeah, that's like the grossest and worst part about it to me.
And it's
Thinking
not
about it.
easy to air dry. I don't understand how other people have done it. People have talked about like, oh, I took like a coat hanger and like made like a drying rack for it where it's like it runs through it and like it's like
You're just hanging that up in your living room.
yeah, it's like it has to dry for hours. So
Yeah, in the open.
you gotta leave it out
Yeah.
in a place where there's plenty of airflow.
Yeah.
And it is. Of course, you don't want it to be like a disposable thing, but there's no simple way
Yeah.
to clean and dry those things. And I when I bought it, I was like Googling. I was like, I got to be missing something here, and it was like, oh no, this is like an issue that there are like 1,000 like DIY engineering hacks for, and
Yeah.
none of them are simple.
My favorite is like the cursed threads where people talk about their fleshlight. How long? Like, oh yeah, no, I've never cleaned my fleshlight.
Oh, I cleaned
stuff
it
like
every
that.
time.
It's like-
I would
it's
go
getting
right
to a
into
point where
the
sometimes
right
it's
into
hard
the
to get
shower.
into it
Oh
because,
god.
yeah, and you're like, oh no,
No,
stop.
you gotta go right away.
Yeah. No, fuck that. That sounds horrible.
Oh my god. And
yeah.
and once it's done, it's like, oh cool, it's great. It's like cleans really nicely, but wow. So the flesh lips, you're locked in the room with the flesh lips. What do you want to talk about?
My favorite part about James is how much of like he is his own worst enemy, because like you're locked in a room. You're a grown man. A child has locked you in this room. This isn't like we're screwing around and you've locked me out of like your bedroom, you know what I mean, and we're playing tag or something and I'm supposed to be babysitting you. This is like I'm gonna die in this room. I'm watching the flesh lips come at me from the ceiling. And you're like, you little spoiled fucking brat! You fucking let me in here, you bitch! And she's like, I'm gonna leave. And you're like, yeah, obviously. Because she goes, what's the magic word to let me out? And as an adult, you should just go, I'm so sorry, Laura. I'm so sorry, Laura. Please let me out. I was wrong. I'm a big dumb dummy, and you're right. And I need to get out. Like,
Yes,
that's what you
placate
do.
the child.
Placate the child. Instead, he like calls her a spoiled brat. Like he's a child. Mm-hmm. And it's fucking. I was so frustrated with him in that
I was
moment.
too. I was like, James, control yourself for 1 minute.
Yeah, like for a moment.
Like, grovel if you need to save your life.
Yeah, swallow your pride for literally your life in this moment. And
And also, it's a child you're dealing with. She's got to be like 8.
We learn later she is literally 8 years old. You go, how old are you, Lauren? She goes, 8.
Right,
So
right.
she's literally an 8-year-old girl. That's like if. I don't know. That's like if I punched my niece in that face. I don't know. If she punched me in the balls and I like hit her back. You know what I mean? It's like it's a child.
Yeah, you got to sometimes get on their level, even if you don't want to.
You have to just kind of.
What'd you think of this boss?
This boss wasn't. I mean, it was very strange. It picked me up right away. Mm-hmm. I like what they do with pretty much every boss fight in this game. It seems like they start you off like right next to the boss. Mm-hmm. They don't let you're not across the room or something. It's like you have to immediately be ready to fight.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. It really was like, oh shit, it's so real.
Yeah, but at this point, you have the shotgun by now, because you find that with Maria when you're in the hospital earlier, I believe. You find it in like a locker room. I think you find it in the women's locker room.
I think so too. Yeah, you find the rifle in the prison, but I think you get the shotgun earlier in the hospital.
And I just kind of blasted these guys. I just kind of ran. You just kind of have to run away from them. There's like a panic because it's a very small room. I thought it was a pretty good boss fight, though. You know what I mean? It did a good job of like giving me that like claustrophobic feeling because there's 2 of them, so like you kind of can't take your focus off of any one of them at any time. And I got picked up 3 times, I think.
I did too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's scary because then even though it probably doesn't do anything, every time something like that happens, I just start mashing buttons.
Me too.
Hoping that one of them is like release. And I'm like, I know it does nothing, but I'm just sitting there like, no.
Or maybe it does. Maybe it's a hidden mechanic. You never know.
You don't. There's no. It's like in a. Did you ever have anyone tell you that, like, if you smashed A at the third shake on your Pokeball, it was guaranteed to catch it and stuff like that? Yeah. No.
No.
Like, but I'm sitting there.
But also, there's stuff like, you know, and it's not exactly the same, but like, you know, to get the boost on Mario Kart, or it's like you gotta hit A at the right point.
Yeah, on the three. Yeah, on the
it's like sometimes there's stuff where it's like that's not really communicated in the game.
No.
So there are those like little secret mechanics. Yeah.
But I love those little old wives' tales.
So
urban legends.
When you get back out of here, you go to the hospital where Mary was.
Oh, the third guy shoots in too. A third flesh lip comes in.
Oh yeah.
You kill the first two, and then I just wanted to mention that because I thought that was like it kind of threw me off. Where I tried to leave.
Yeah, I mean,
I was like, maybe I don't have to fight this guy. I thought maybe they're gonna keep coming in. You know what I mean? Like there's a conveyor belt of these things. Not the case. You got to fight the third one too. But not a super hard fight.
Weird boss design too.
Very weird.
It was like disturbing.
Yeah,
just like it was a weird mixture of like flesh and inanimate object that was like especially odd. It didn't like if I was like make a monster out of a fucking bed.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think that.
No, it's like it's like a weird. You're inside of like it's like a box, but it's only the frame of a box. You know what I mean? And they're
well, it seems like the frame of one of those folding, like cheap beds, like you know you got the cot like a hotel.
Yes,
and it comes in on the wheels. Like that's what it looked like to me.
That is exactly what it looks like. They're really weird. It's like it's kind of like that Uncanny Valley thing where everything in it is like they're almost human. You know what I mean? Like there are human things about them, but then so much of it is like just absolutely.
And it's got like the Homer Simpson lips.
Yeah. Yeah, it does have the Homer Simpson lips.
Yeah.
And they're horrible.
Yeah.
And they're just sticking out of the top.
Yeah, it looks like a big fucking clam.
Like Cloyster.
Yeah.
Pokemon
like
Cloyster.
Well, I mean like a pussy.
Yeah, that's what also Cloyster looks like.
Sure.
Yeah, look up Cloyster right now. He's got a clit.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I'll put a picture of him right here. So when you get out, Maria's gone.
Yeah. This is when you find all the medicine bottles next to the bed, and you go, "Oh no, is Maria sick too?" No.
But you wind up back around her. You find her again not long after, and she's like, "Why? You know, like what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
you left me in there.
Why didn't you save me?" And you're like, "I don't know. And it's like, I was like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah, that was very.
But like, obviously, that's like James's guilt speaking through her.
Because what happens is she goes, "I'm gonna stay in here. Come back for me later." You do come back for her.
I checked on her a couple times,
but she's gone. You know what I mean? When you come back, she's gone. So it wouldn't have mattered.
Well, but if you come back a few times, she'll be there for a while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. But I mean, either way, when it's like once you inevitably get there and to trigger that, it's like it's not your fault. You didn't abandon her. Just in the same way that like, I don't know, like if your wife gets cancer and dies, you didn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? Like we're getting deep.
No, but what if your wife gets cancer and dies and then, well, we'll talk about it later.
Oh yeah, yes, I'll give you that. But before that period, he still felt guilt clearly. You know what I mean? And like,
right.
But yeah, there is the guilt there of it's your fault.
So once you reunite with her, you know, there's like a weird door, which is a cool effect where the hand is like coming out of the door. It's like a painting of a person. The hand's actually there. Put the two rings in the hand.
It's like that.
You get to go down an elevator, and when you're on the elevator, a fucking like radio broadcast comes on, says like James is on a fucking game show called Trick or Treat.
It made me think of the BioShock, the "Welcome to the Circus of Values."
Oh yes, what it reminded me of was the song "The Joker's Wild" by Insane Clown Posse.
Oh, okay, there you go. Or fucking you haven't played much Borderlands.
I played a lot of Borderlands actually.
When you go up to the ammo things where they're like, "Wowie wow, welcome." Yeah.
My problem with Borderlands is I played through almost all the first game and I was kind of like, I can't finish this. It's the same fucking thing over and over. It didn't. And I also just thought all the characters kind of sucked. I was like,
They do.
sometimes it's kind of funny. There are some good jokes. The majority are not.
I hear you.
And
I really
it was
liked the
fun.
first game.
It was a lot of fun. Like
Yeah.
I had a great time with it.
Yes,
But because I'm also someone who like really grinds, like
that's a hard.
I feel like
game
it
for
takes
that.
me like I'm spending more time in the levels than other people might.
Oh,
And so
100%,
like
yeah.
you know, I think if I just like pushed through at like a faster pace, I could have finished it.
That's kind of what it like. It is kind of built for that. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't. It kind of rewards some exploration, but usually it's like very obvious stuff. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it's not. Yeah, I shouldn't have. It's not a game I should have been grinding in, but I always try to in games. So
I
just
thought it
wanna
was
be
a
like-
very fun game, and then I
Yeah.
feel like they've just kind of kept putting out the same game.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I
decade.
played the other. I played 2 and 3, and I just felt
Yeah.
like, oh, these are like graphically superior, but like mechanically almost identical.
Yeah. Then they then tried to. I mean, we're talking about Borderlands now. They then tried to like put in mechanics to make it feel different that like just weren't like one of them. You're just on the moon the whole game, so it's like it's low gravity the whole time, except for in certain areas, and otherwise it's the same. You know what I mean? Like I'm like okay.
Is that 2 or is that
I
the
think
sequel?
it's
The
I think it's
prequel?
the pre-sequel, whichever one that is.
Yeah.
the prequel, and it was fucking I don't know.
I played
Yeah.
I played most of 1. I played a bit of all of them, but
Yeah.
yeah, totally same vibe. But I thought that was really cool. Did you do the puzzle? Did you?
Oh yeah, no, I did it. Yeah,
You get
The
like a big
questions,
ammo cache.
The questions I like the name. It was a guy's name I recognized. And I was like, I know I recognize that, so I went through my memos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's
I
all
read
in
about
your
him.
memos.
Yeah, he's like you read that he's like a guy who killed his
Mm-hmm.
whole family.
It's all either I like thought about that and I'm like, how am I supposed to know all this stuff? And then I was like, it's definitely notes I've read. Or the other one is just like look at the fucking map.
Right. Well, if you like Google like Trick or Treat Silent Hill 2 puzzle answers,
Mm-hmm.
they just tells you.
Well, yeah, fucking fuck you.
No, but
that too, yeah.
I'll be honest. I because I wanted to be able to like capture like you know if you lost and won, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do it and then do it, you know, and see. So like what happens is like oh, I'm forgetting. I think like the room like fills with like gas.
A
and,
gas. I did it also,
Yeah.
but I only had to Google it because I knew all the answers. I forgot what numbers they were because I didn't write down the answers when
I
I was in the
did.
elevator. I didn't do it. I thought they'd be there again, or that it would be in a fucking memo.
I thought it would too, but I was glad I wasn't because I got them all right, which I was surprised.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I think this is right, and then I was like, cool, I did it. But
Well, I tried to just remember it because I was like, I know it's Walter Sullivan, I know it's Lakeside Amusement Park or whatever, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember the other question right now. But I had all of them right. And I put them in, and I got it wrong like 3 times because I just couldn't remember which number it was. So finally I was
I
just
think it's
like,
like 313.
yeah, I just had to Google it, and I was
Yeah.
doing like, it was like 131, and I was doing like 331. You know what I mean? It was just I was like I just slightly forgot. But no, I did it because I wanted to.
That was and nothing else like that happens the rest of the game.
Nope, very goofy.
I
Very,
really liked that.
Yeah.
And I also like that like Maria and James were both like, what? What's
Yeah,
that?
they're both also very confused by it.
So eventually you're going down a long stairwell into the basement. One of several long stairwells in this game. And the game is really good at being like, here's a long corridor, here's a long stairwell.
I can't remember if it was specifically this stairwell, but it must have been. There was a stairwell in this game that had very hard Metal Gear Solid vibes to it.
Totally.
Like going up the ladder vibes where you're just like, this is still going.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't,
Yeah.
this is like, they're fucking with me a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
like,
Is this a Mario 64 situation?
yeah, like this is a never-ending staircase.
You get down, and I did not understand this the first time. Just got like wrecked because I didn't see him. But Pyramid Head appears behind you, and you guys need to like run.
Yeah, I fucked this up because I turned around and shot him because I thought that maybe, you know what I mean?
I turned around, attempted to shoot him. I shot Maria.
You shot Maria?
Pretty sure that's what I did.
Yeah, I turned around and definitely shot him because I heard the metal. You know what I mean? It like hits metal. And all that does is like, it slows him down a little bit the same way it does in
Well-
your first encounter with him.
The thing is, you know, inevitably, when you get to the end of the
Yeah,
hallway,
it
there's
ends
an
in a-
elevator.
yeah. And it's for whatever reason closing.
Maria doesn't make it.
No.
She can't make it.
No.
But you can like protect her from getting hit before that. And that is So the different endings are based on how you treat different things in the game.
I know.
And one of these things is like if you don't let her get hit, like that's a thing that affects. And I was like, I don't understand how you could not let her get hit.
It's because you have to shoot him to slow him down and then run away and she'll follow you.
Right, but
Turn around, shoot him again.
I could not get the rhythm of that.
I fucked it up by just shooting him and then lingering too long on that moment. And then I need you to know when I like reached the elevator, I was almost there and I like turned around to see if he was catching up to me. And she was just right next to him. Like, they were basically walking at the same pace. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, and then just went in the elevator. And,
Yeah.
you know.
After you wrap up, you think Maria's dead. And I think this is the first time that James sees Maria die. And he's extremely somber. He's on the ground. He's being a little bitch.
Maybe a little baby.
He's moping. No, but it's like wow, we know his wife died, and then like the hot doppelganger of his wife also died. That's gotta be extra.
Yeah,
that's gotta be dually hard.
It's hitting him
It's
hard.
like sometimes I look up live like videos and I see with someone that looks like someone I know, and I go,
and then it's bad. And then it's bad.
and then I feel bad.
Uh-huh.
And then I go over to Pornhub and I forget about it.
Right from life.
And that's living online.
You can. What's great is you can find some crossover sites where it's just a separate tab on the same website.
Right. Yeah. Oh God.
I'm sorry. I'm like.
I had one in mind. I know there's a couple.
I know. I can't think of the name. Oh, there was one we used to go to in high school. Fucking
There's Motherless, which is
E-fucked.
E-fucked.
E-fucked is a classic. Motherless was a classic.
I feel like there's like
Motherless
it's
was
not
one of those-
RedTube. It's like Tube 8. It's another tube site where it's
Yeah.
like it's between porn and shock, and I go.
Yeah.
Oh, because sometimes I'll look stuff up, and I'd spend a lot of time researching different videos, and sometimes I try to look for like older video sources. So I'll be looking at like odd sites
Weird
sometimes,
tube sites and stuff.
and every once in a while I'll see something in the search results. I'm like, it could be hosted on this site, but I don't think I want to go to it because I used to have more of a stomach for that kind of stuff. I go, I don't want, but like now I just go. I don't even want to risk seeing some terrible fucking thing.
I saw a thumbnail the other day
Ugh.
that was like, I need you to know that it was like from a video that like probably 12 years ago. I would have just sat through the whole video and then just like felt kind of weird later. You know what I mean? I saw the thumbnail and I thought about it as I lay down at night for the past 2 nights.
Ugh.
You know what I mean? Like it affects you differently.
Sometimes it's just a surveillance camera thing, and I just see like the setup of the scene. I go, I don't even need to.
Oh yeah, this thumbnail was clearly the aftermath.
Oh God.
You know what I mean? And I was just like, yep, that's gonna stick with me now.
Yeah.
And I mean, those other things stick with me too, but because I feel like I was so naive.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
Let's move on from this.
So you the next place you're trying to go to, you find like a letter that's like addressed to you even, saying like, James, if you choose to go on, like may God be with you or something like that. And like basically the key to the museum or the Silent Hill Historical Society building was buried under a statue in the Rosewater Park.
Yeah, which you find allusions to that in the hospital.
Yeah.
There's like somebody mentions burying one behind the praying woman. Like, and so I thought it felt like this was one of those moments where I was like, is this because I have the puzzles on easy? Kind of spoon feeding this one to me.
No,
it just clearly.
It seems like maybe like a patient or a doctor like hid the key.
Yeah.
To the place, and like if it is a patient, like this is just my own theory crafting and shit, but like, was someone aware of kind of the powers of Silent Hill, and they were institutionalized, and they were trying to keep some of the secrets safe, like trying to, because like I don't remember exactly where it's explained. You find a bit more information about Silent Hill and its history that doesn't at all conflict with the first game. So it's like even Native Americans that lived on that land, many generations prior, were like aware of the power it had.
Right.
And it's like, I imagine there were Silent Hill 1 talks about how like people tried to develop it and all the developers died in mysterious ways, and it was like, like, it was just this fucking bloodbath basically.
Yeah.
But there had to have been like other people over time, because like
It can't just be an unoccupied piece of land for all of time until now.
no, and also like because we see the other world and we see the real Silent Hill, there is an infrastructure there. Like
Yeah.
obviously society was there, and it had to have kind of degraded over time to become this
Yes.
ghost town.
Right.
So I imagine there were people at various points in history that were kind of like, holy shit, there's like a strange power here.
Yeah. It's a place of power.
But if it's if the manifestations of Silent Hill are tailored to you and they're mostly in your own head, and I think again, this is theory crafting. This is not
Yeah,
the
none
game
of this
doesn't.
is,
But if someone like Laura, who may even be a ghost,
I know. Which the ending kind of makes that hard to answer too. You know what I mean?
right?
So
It's hard to say if she's a ghost or she's a figment of James's imagination.
Imagination?
If she's a figment of the magination,
the machinations of his mind.
yeah, Trump 2024 and magination. No.
Oh, God.
If
Make an M with my fucking magination.
we're not really about that shit.
No. Please don't think so.
No, but if someone like Laura could be there and not be affected, I'm assuming other people could have been in Silent Hill and not have known it was fucked up. Because
Yeah.
it seems like it is almost like a... It's like a judgment kind of thing, where it's
Yes.
like people who have these like sins to atone for.
Well, it feels like purgatory.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I think if you're someone who is innocent or isn't tormented by guilt,
or is genuinely like, or is actually remorseful, or actually, you know what I mean? Because it seems like some of the characters in this, like, Angela's in denial about what happened. You know
right?
what I
That's
mean?
why I mean, yes,
Eddie
with the
feels
guilt
justified
thing.
about
Everyone's
what
guilty,
happened.
but they're not facing it.
And it seems like the more you... I'm trying to think of the way to say this correctly. But it's like, I guess the more you fight against it and the more you think you're worthy of forgiveness, or the more that you are actually innocent, the less it affects you. Whereas sorry, that came out wrong.
No, I know what you mean though. If
But at the
you're
same-
if you come to terms
Yes.
with it, it's different than if you're trying to like swim upstream. It's like, well,
You're going to drown.
yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like somebody for like it's worse for Eddie because he won't acknowledge it for a while. And
Right.
then when he does acknowledge it, he's like, I did the right thing. You know what I mean? And so then he's fully engulfed by it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Whereas like Angela, that's not the case. You know what I mean? And Laura, you don't even know if she's done anything because she's a child.
Well, I mean, we're all familiar with the concept of original sin.
Has she been baptized? And by a Catholic priest in the house of God.
But you get to the Toluca Lake prison eventually through... You go to the Historical Society. It's like a weird
Yeah.
little museum.
This took me a really long time to get to. It was fucking really difficult to figure out how to get out of that area because you can't go back through Heaven's, whatever it is.
Right.
Heaven's Gate. Just
Yeah,
that's a cult.
Heaven's Night.
Heaven's Night. Yeah, sorry. Heaven's Gate was a cult that didn't go well. Yeah, but you can't get back through Heaven's Night, and I can't even remember. You have to like go back through the road that's originally blocked off when you get there.
Yes, and
Which-
it like brings you to a different map.
Yeah, which I got there, and I didn't go through that door because I was like, "Oh, this is one that was blocked off at the beginning." And then I went around. I literally walked around the entire area, everywhere that you possibly.
I
could.
went through going, this couldn't possibly be where I'm supposed to go. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I guess it was. But I have very similar thought.
Yeah, I did. I wasted a lot of time there, but then eventually I did get to the Historical Society and make it to Toluca Prison.
So one thing I read earlier today, or maybe it was in a video. I did a lot of reading, I did a lot of watching and listening. There was a hard drive loss where certain things in the game were just lost. One was a scene with Eddie that was so disgusting that like it was making people sick. And they were like, well, maybe it's better that was lost forever. And no one ever talked about what it
Yeah.
was. another part was a larger level based in that historical society museum.
Oh, okay.
And that's what, when you go in there, it's a little underwhelming. You know, it seems like it's this place you're drawn to, and you go, there's like paintings of Pyramid Head and some of the other imagery you've seen, which is again like an echo of when you're in the school, you saw the painting of the painting that was made in poor taste of the door.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, it was a little anticlimactic, but part of it was that shit was made and it was lost, and they were just like, well, we gotta fucking keep moving.
Yeah, you can't stay on that.
And, you know, so it's an interesting spot, but not that interesting. But you go down a long stairway once again.
This was the one that felt very Kojima, very Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, big time. It leads down to the prison, and then this whole thing is where, like, I mean, there's a lot of different parts to this, and it's like, I was really struck by when you were like going through parts of the prison where there's like rows of cells, or like in the cell block, and there's just like noises, and there's nothing there. I was just like expecting something to show up, and it never did.
No,
but
there's
it
like
fucked with
occasionally
me.
one thing. There'd be like one enemy behind a cell door.
Right.
You know what I mean? But this place was
But there
very
was
like
there was new noises.
yeah. Oh no. Oh, constantly. Yeah. And it was very much like despite having the map in this section, like you have a map of this section. You know what I mean? You can kind of tell where you're going. It was very good at disorienting you so much that I had to like constantly refer back to the map or get lost.
Now, at one point your flashlight does go out, and you found a battery.
Yeah, thank
hours
fucking
earlier.
God, and I was like, what am I supposed to do with this dry cell battery?
But did you notice that if your flashlight was ever off, you couldn't read your map?
You couldn't read your map. There's a number of things you couldn't do.
Yeah.
If your flashlight's off, you can't read your map. You can't pick up items.
Right.
You can't unlock doors with keys that you have. There's a number of things, which was cool and also kind of dumb. And I thought, you know what I mean? I mean, it was cool because I was like, I get it. That's a cool mechanic or feature. But at the same time, I was like, well, I can fucking see it. It's kind of I can see it.
Yeah.
No, and I'm like, no darkness has ever been. And it's like, I can't see the lock to unlock it. I'm like, okay, feel for it. You idiot, you dumb idiot. Like, use
I know
your
what you
fucking
mean.
fingers.
I felt similarly. I felt the two minds about it. But I also,
Uh-huh.
you know, I also never really got into that situation because, you know, one way to play Silent Hill is turn off your light and your radio and you won't attract enemies.
Yes.
Fuck that.
I've never done that. No. Radio's on, flashlight's on the whole time.
Maybe on hard. Maybe on hard.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be way more useful because you can't fight anybody.
But when your light goes out, you're in a room and
You're
put
in a
your
padded room.
yeah, you put your fucking battery in, and then it's like full of bugs.
What did you do in this room? How'd you handle
I
that?
panicked.
Did you leave right away?
Well, you can't leave right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you see the numbers, you see a keypad, the numbers weren't off, but you don't know which order they're in.
Yeah.
So I kept trying. I got it. And another interesting thing is you can't Google these because most of the codes in the game are randomized.
I was rereading a walkthrough this morning. I was watching same thing. I was like reading through the wiki again just to like refresh my mind and watching a couple videos. And the code in the walkthrough that I was reading they were like, clearly they didn't know that when they made the walkthrough because they were like, try pressing 864. You know what I mean? It's going to be any combination of 8. And I'm like, mine were 7 and 1. You know what I mean? Like mine were different. And so that was cool. But I also didn't notice the keypad for a minute.
Ooh.
And I wasted a lot of ammo and time just trying to kill all the bugs. I thought I could smash them. They do a lot of damage to you. You'll die in there.
No, I was getting fucked up. I was like, damn, like that's a harsh puzzle.
Yeah.
And then once I got out, I was like, I wonder what happens if I go back in. Are the bugs still there? They were.
Yeah.
I got fucked up by the bugs, man.
I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not going back. I did continue through the rest of this game with a small fear my battery would die again. And I was going to have to find another battery for my flashlight. So this is when I would run into the issue where I couldn't
I think
open
it goes
things.
out one more time in the hotel
Does
for
it?
a short time, but
I
you
might
don't
not
have
have
another
noticed
battery,
it.
I don't think.
Oh, no, you get rid of it.
No, I thought I know that, but I thought there was another time it went out. Or
I
it
could
stopped
be wrong.
working.
I don't remember
It
that.
shorted out.
But I could be wrong.
Um,
Yeah, I was just terrified that I needed to find another battery or I needed to like ration my flashlight.
yeah, me too. I can't stand the
Luckily,
games with
no,
the flashlight
but-
batteries.
Yeah, you
This
hate,
also
you hate any game with flashlight batteries.
I do,
One of your least favorite? Yeah.
well, except for Alan Wake.
You fucking love flashlight batteries, dude.
Sometimes I think, do I really like Alan Wake?
am I just pretending to be someone I'm not?
Or do I just like...
Do I really like Alan Wake, or do I just like white men with spiky hair and army jackets?
Yeah, it's hard to say. We talked about earlier, but this is where you find the weird puzzle where you gotta like find the fucking brick on the wall and push through, and
Yeah, which is dumb.
what did you think? Like, to me, there's like this thing that's very like intrinsic to a lot of my nightmares and stuff that's very similar to this, where he's going down. You're like, you got, and then it's like there's another hole. It's like it's like, how far am I going where there's no way back? There's no, he's the deeper. It was very nightmarish.
Yes, it's very well. I mean, and I think it speaks. I think it really speaks to the thing we mentioned earlier, where it's like he has this apathy about all of it, this like melancholy. This I'm not. I want to kill myself, but it's okay if this is how I die. You know what I mean? It's his. It's almost like representative, I think, of him accepting there's no going back.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
At times I couldn't help but think of...
No Way Back by the Foo Fighters? There's no way back from...
And please, I don't need a copyright strike on this video, too. No, I couldn't help but think of when Ethan Mars went into the fucking weird... Opened the door and went into had to crawl through the tunnel of broken glass.
Yeah. That whole challenge, that whole building.
That's another very similar thing where it's like, do you want to go into the hole where there's no way back out? And it's like, obviously it has to lead out somewhere or not. But I don't know, man. It's like,
I don't know. I've watched too many Cave. I watched the Internet Historian Man in Cave video, and now I don't ever.
Have you ever been in like any real caves?
No, nope.
I've been in a handful of them.
Nope.
Over the years, I went on. I've been in a couple like caves casually exploring. I've been in a couple caves that are like maintained caves.
Yeah, like
I also went on like a canoe ride through a cave.
Okay.
And it was just like
that's very Western New York.
At some of the paths where it's like, here's a path you can walk down and it narrows and you have to crawl through the rest, and it's like.
No.
Just even as a kid, I was looking at those and could not even. Oh.
I'm filled with an existential dread.
Yeah.
Like I get sick. I feel sick. Like
Me
my
too.
stomach turns, and I'm like, because, you know, it's like one of those things where you're like, you can't put yourself in that scenario, but you can put yourself in that scenario, and I'm like,
it's like the.
I would try to kill myself somehow.
Ito, the Japanese like the horror manga guy.
Oh yeah.
You know, the one where it's like.
Yeah.
And everyone's pushing through like the fucking holes they're like built for their body. It's like that's such a classic thing because it's such a thing. Like the
claustrophobia that buried alive.
But also like
I,
you know, every decision I make in life is motivated by the fact that I want to stick my dick in a hole.
That's fair.
So eventually we in the prison, like, is there
up.
anything in the prison you want to mention before we get to the boss fight?
No, I feel like I mentioned, I loved the way that it made you feel lost. You know what I mean? It was very, I mean, we'll soon be at a place called the Labyrinth, you know what I mean? But this was very labyrinthian, despite the fact that it is not a maze at all. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty standard back and forth, but it's so overwhelming, like, sensory-wise, that at certain points I was like, I don't know where the fuck I am.
Yeah, I have my notes, like, the grimiest, like, fucking fucked up looking area.
Yeah.
Between the holes, the hatches, the elevator, everything, it's just like, it's a descent, and it's a descent into, like, one of the, like, most desolate places in, like, in the silent world.
Yeah, it's in the silent world, in this quiet world.
It's a silent world. I'm trying to do Mad World. It's not going to work out. So we see
like
Eddie
you were going
again.
way more Morrissey that time.
Yeah,
which I've worked on my impression. It's way better.
Oh,
but we don't need to do it, so don't worry. You told me I was bad at it, and then I got really self-conscious about it and practiced it for real for a day.
Good. We see Eddie again. He's got a gun, and he's like, killing someone's as easy as putting the trigger.
Well, the best part too is like he's got a gun, and there's just like 3 dead guys in the room.
And it's like, okay, he's like, killing is pretty easy.
Yeah.
But he swears he was provoked. and he leaves.
Yep.
So you're like, okay. Every time I see him, I'm a little uneasy.
He pulls this thing where he tries to be like, I'm just joking, James.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's, I'm just joking around. I'm gonna head out.
Yeah.
Like, all right, man.
What an odd character. Before I played Silent Hill, I'd seen like the scene of him eating pizza. I was like,
Yeah.
I have a feeling that character's fucked up.
He's a very like he reminds me of some of like the characters from. Do you ever play Bully? Yeah,
I
Rockstar
did.
game.
I kind of hated it, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's like they really captured that like
Just for that, you killed him?
it's like a Deliverance energy. You know what I mean? Like, I know that sounds weird, but I mean it's the same like unnerving of like Nick Rochefort does this thing that he thinks is funny, where he's like he thinks the concept of someone in the background being like, oh, he's gonna fuck him, he's gonna fuck you, like that guy, like that level of unnerving, like getting excited that some, you know what I mean,
Like a Deliverance.
yeah, like Deliverance level. That is the vibe Eddie gives me. It
Yes.
makes me deeply uncomfortable.
Yes. Or recently I watched. Have you ever seen? You ever been a Kevin Smith fan?
You're going out there alone?
Not to the degree that Andrew is. You know what I mean? I really liked I liked Clerks.
Stop talking about him.
He's not here, okay? No, I think Kevin
Andrew's a bit tied up at the moment.
I think Kevin
In
Smith
the basement.
I think Kevin Smith makes pretty good movies. I like him. I
Um,
liked I
Shut
thought
up.
Tusk was really good.
Fuck you. That's like the one I haven't seen. But I just recently watched this movie Vulgar that he like produced, and it was a buddy of his that made it and wrote the script and everything. But a lot of the people that were working on Mallrats like made it during their time off.
Oh, okay.
So it's like this like, and it's all black and white, I believe. I think it's black and white. I could be wrong with that now that I think about it. But it's got a very Clerks mall like Clerksy kind of feel. But
Yeah.
it's all the cast from Mallrats.
Okay.
But there's a very similar "he's gonna fuck you" type energy from a lot of the characters. It's a fucked up movie. It is
Yeah.
so brutal and bizarre. It's not really even that good. But there's references to the main character in some of the other Kevin Smith films. I was like, I gotta see that movie one day because I was big into his shit when I was a teenager. I only just like last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever was able to see Vulgar for the first time, and yeah, there's that's the energy of that film.
He's gonna fuck him.
So the labyrinth / like maze part, it's almost like a normal apartment building. I keep saying apartment
I don't know why.
because this game's like appalling. That's why.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You're feeling a little impulsive today. With Jake Paul.
Tame Impala.
Tame Impala. Chevrolet Impala. The animal in Impala.
Well, you go down the elevator eventually, you know, after you go through a lot of other fucking holes and hatches and ladders. And outside, it just seems like the deepest depths of this fucked up place is like such a normal place. It's
Yeah.
so weird to come out to like a normal building, but then it's like it's also super fucking unsettling. And like there's all these doorways where you kind of go down. There's like a ladder, and there's like the floor is like several inches of water. The walls are all mud, and at one point you're in one of those, and Pyramid Head is chasing you around. Now, did you find his knife?
I did find his knife, which I've been waiting the whole time for you to ask me what my favorite weapon was, because you asked me the other day, and I hadn't found the Great Knife yet. Great Knife fucking rips, dude.
It's pretty cool. It's very satisfying to use.
I killed a boss with it later.
Wow.
Not solely. Like, I got him there, and then I was like, I want to hit this thing one time with it, and that was the killing blow.
Nice.
And it
That's
felt
super
so fucking
satisfying.
good.
I tried to do that and did not succeed.
The weapon is so fucking cool. You fucking, like, oh my god. I tried
Like, with the way you drag it behind you, it's like such an anime fucking...
It's so fucking cool.
It's like, you know, of course I can't, like, lift, like, Guts' blade, but,
Yeah.
like...
But I can at least, like, fucking hurl it at somebody and hope that... Because, like, the way you swing it is, like, you have it behind you, and then you have to, like, switch it to the other side of you, and then, like, hurl it up. Or you have, if you hold down, there's also the alternate attacks for everything.
Right.
And if you hold it down, you just kind of do, like, a wild fucking, like, across to you.
And I really liked
So
how physical James was. Did you ever, like fall off a ledge as James and fall on your butt?
Yeah.
Stuff's great.
There's that one. You're at like the pillory. You know what I mean? Where they're like, there's all the nooses hanging above you.
Yeah.
And if you go up that too fast, he'll like fall over it.
Yeah.
Into the front of it. And
Yeah.
He's like, woo. You know what I mean? It's very like
Yeah.
goofy, but very real.
They did like that's so unnecessary in terms of animation because normally characters just like hop down.
Yeah,
they
it
made
just-
him very realistic with his like stumbling when he like it.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to go out of your way a little bit to do it. I thought that the shifting room puzzle with the cube face was really cool. I totally didn't get it at first, and then when I went through, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's making the room move.
Yeah, and because it's like it took me, I didn't realize it until I couldn't get back into the room. You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
what it did for me.
Yeah, I turned around and I was like, oh fuck. So I had to get it. Eventually, I had to get it. It took me a minute to get it back to a place where I could get back into the room, and then look inside. And then even then, it still took me. Like this one was, it was very intuitive, but it still took me a minute. You know what I mean? It was cool. I mean, I feel like I don't know the timeline of anything. I'm really bad at remembering. You know what I mean? Like this came out in 2001, but I'm bad at knowing if the thing I'm about to reference came out in like 95 or 2005. But that movie, The Cube, I feel like that's just such.
That was
like,
1997.
Okay, I'm like, I feel like that's just such an iconic, that's such iconic imagery, and I fucking love that movie, and I've watched Cube Squared, I've watched Cube Cubed, you know what I mean? I've seen all of them. They're all great, just regardless of how horrible they are, and I love that concept. It's like, I love that. I don't know.
That scene with the horse. Was that the movie where they like bisect a horse?
Oh, yes. There's multiple moments in those movies. It's like fucking, it's been a while since I've watched the first one. I went and watched all the bad sequels, like 2 years ago.
They're so bad. I mean, they're interesting in the same way. Like I've watched all the Hellraiser sequels,
Yeah.
but Hellraiser is a masterpiece. Those other movies are novelties.
Yeah,
and I can't recommend them really.
No, they're really just more like, if you really like Cube, you will find them exploring this concept more fun, but it's not
Right.
good.
No, whereas the Cube is. I watched the Cube with my girlfriend, and I was like, "Oh man, this movie!" I saw it when I was 9.
Yeah.
It was very formative for me, and she was like, "Wow, I can definitely see why you are the way you are in some ways." I think the movie gave me a few weird fetishes and like a few idiosyncrasies in general. I think it fucked me up mentally and sexually, probably. Seeing it at such a formative age.
I think that there actually is some credence to the rating system of things. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I saw Queen of the Damned when I was 6. I shouldn't have seen that movie at 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I saw Team America World Police the year it came out. That movie came out in 2004. I was 10 years old, and I saw that movie in theaters. Which, like, that's not as bad, but, like, I shouldn't be revealed to a lot of those subject matters.
I had the Queen of the Damned soundtrack on CD.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Very new metal.
I don't like watching the movie.
No, movie's not that good.
No, it's not that great, and it makes you uncomfortable.
I believe there's like a good System of a Down song on there.
I think the song, God, is it Spiders? Is Spiders in that movie?
I remember their cover of the Metro was on one of those movies.
The Metro was in Dracula 2000.
Ah, that was another one I had.
Yeah.
That I don't think I ever saw. I think I just had the soundtrack.
One, yeah, but that one had a good soundtrack. The Metro was a bad original song, good cover.
I like the original. I like Berlin. I like that band.
Yeah, okay.
I have their LPs.
It's not, I guess, the cover's better, I guess is what I mean, really. I wouldn't call it a bad song.
Yeah, they did a great job with it. It's got Static X. It's got Linkin Park. Deftones, Marilyn Manson, Papa Roach, Godhead, Orgy, Disturbed, Earshot, Dry Cell, Tricky, Kidney Thieves, who I have no idea who that band is. But that is a veritable who's who of early 2000s new metal.
What a time to be alive. Where those are all, you look wild on
And you know who produced it and didn't actually have a track on it?
Who?
Guess who produced it, but shockingly did not have a track on this.
Jonathan Davis?
Yes.
Yeah? That was a
But
shot in the dark.
he helped to write some of the songs.
Yeah.
But he didn't actually perform. He probably had background vocals or something. There's no way he didn't put his fucking voice on it.
For sure, yeah.
Interesting.
That's wild.
Yeah, he wrote a bunch. Oh, he also put out an EP of songs that he recorded that didn't make it.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. Anyway, I think that Silent Hill is a very new metal game.
Oh yeah, dude.
in a lot of ways.
The imagery and everything.
I like when I was listening to a lot of new metal, like in 2001, 2002, like right at the height of that stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't have a PS2, but like my friends that I hung out with did, and they were definitely playing this kind of shit.
Yeah.
I can definitely equate this type of like gritty imagery with that music.
Well, it's like
hardcore.
every girl who went from like new metal goth to scene / emo dressed up as a Silent Hill nurse for Halloween. You know what I mean? In like 2004. It's just how it went. You know?
Do you think the nurse was popularized more by the movie than the game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can't really make out the nurse that well in the game.
Those
You know what I
movies
mean?
kind of suck.
Yeah. I mean, they're
okay.
we've talked about them in detail in the Silent. So if you want to hear more about them, go to the fucking first. Yeah, I played Silent Hill 1. But we do like. They do a very good job of staying true to the game and stuff, and like trying to keep the. Like we talked about how he literally took like camera angles from the game and put
Which
them
was
into the movie.
sick. And
that stuff's
did you
great.
notice a few times you'd come out of a room and there'd be like the wonky camera
Yeah.
sometimes?
You
It
get
wasn't
wall.
always though.
Oh, okay.
I noticed like sometimes I go back in and back out of the door
Oh,
and
you
didn't
mean
always
like,
do
yeah,
it.
no, not all the time.
But it sometimes did like the weird camera angle from Silent Hill 1.
And I didn't know if that was like the moments where they were trying to scare you more. You know what I mean? Like it
And they
was
were
like
fucking with you.
yeah, I think that's what it was.
And there was a couple where they did the real intense because like when Harry first like realizes things are fucked up in Silent Hill 1 when he's going on that first like back alley pathway and the camera
Yeah.
angles get more and more, you know, Dutch angle shit and it gets
And
more
funky.
They
yeah.
did a few of those in this game and it was super effective.
But they
Man.
they focused a lot more, I think, on like the utility of the camera angles though.
Yeah.
It
I
being,
mean,
like-
I really think
yeah.
it may have happened once, if not twice.
Yeah. And in like non-combat scenarios.
Right.
Thank fucking God.
Yes, for sure. So eventually we continue on. Maria's fine. She's sitting behind the prison bars
Yeah, she's totally okay.
and she has no memory, or at least no shared knowledge of her death. And she goes, "Did something happen to you, James? Oh, James, honey. When we got separated in that long hallway." And it's like,
Not at all silly.
did we get separated?
Yeah, this is like a gaslighting. This game gaslit me a lot.
Yeah.
Where I was like, and it was like, it made me question where I was like, is this just a bad story? Then I was like, oh no, it's like, it reveals to you, you're all experiencing different realities.
And she's like, "James, you might be confusing me with someone else." And she's like, "You know, you always were so forgetful. Like,
Just before.
you know, like
Remember?
that hotel room. Like, I think you left that videotape there." And I
Yeah.
was like, "They made a fuck tape."
That's also what I thought was. I was like,
I
am
really
gonna
thought that
go-
too.
Am I gonna go find like a? Because I mean, that was also like a trope of like the early 2000s, late 90s.
Yeah, like
everybody's got a
the
sex
sex
tape.
tape.
Yeah,
And it was a tape,
yeah, it was a literal VHS that you had. You know what I mean?
or like a mini DV, maybe.
yeah, like that you pop into the.
Yeah. So you gotta go to the hotel. You gotta, cause I go,
You got to do it.
I want to see that tape. I gotta see that tape.
James says, "I've been here for 4 days and I haven't gotten to come once."
Before you get out, you eventually do find Angela in the weird pulsing sex room,
And-
in the molestation chamber.
Yes, where she's screaming, where she's reciting the breakdown of Disturbed's Down with Sickness.
When I heard that for the first time, because that was a radio hit and they edited that part out for the most part.
I know. And then I got my first MP3 player and downloaded that song off LimeWire onto it and heard that on the bus.
It is fucked up. If anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, look up "Disturbed Down with the Sickness" and
Album version or EP
yeah,
version.
the original version.
Yeah.
There is a spoken word bridge to that song that did not make it to the radio.
That goes on
Way too
longer
long.
than it needs to.
It might be 3 seconds. That's a
Yeah, it's
1,000
too
seconds too long.
Like,
No,
Uh-huh.
I no, mommy, don't hit me again, mommy. It's very and yeah, David Drainman.
listen, he's
Really
proud of his
giving it
guitarist
in.
for fighting cancel culture with his new guitar.
Jesus Christ. When I saw Disturbed live in maybe 2002, and I was shook when I heard him speak, and I was like, he's like, "Hey, everybody's having a good time here tonight. Hi, everybody." And I was like, that's the
started
guy from Disturbed?
I started following him on Facebook in probably like 2008 or 2009 because it was like watching your uncle use Facebook. Every post was all caps other than the letters that were supposed to be capitalized, which meaning he had caps lock on, wasn't paying attention, didn't know how to turn it off, and every time he hit shift it would lowercase. You know what I mean? And he'd post like he'd post like his personal rants about things as well as like, but then right after that he'd be like, also don't forget, new album coming out this Friday, after like complaining about something that happened in his day. And it was the most fun thing to watch happen every day. And that guy's such an interesting person. It's funny to see what fame can do to people who never got to develop social skills. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you ever see some kind of monster documentary,
Yeah.
Metallica, one of the biggest bands in the world, but they were like basically teenagers when they got signed and had everything handed to them.
And there still are.
They never developed past that point.
Yeah.
Maybe now, I mean, that movie was almost 20 years ago now,
Yeah, I mean, you can give everybody
but
has the possibility to grow.
at the time of that movie and the time of Saint Anger being made,
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit, that is just like 3 adult babies
Yeah.
with like a 4th guy being like, oh man, I'm just trying to play bass and get a job. Like
I'm here for the paycheck.
I really want to be in this band. It's like
Yeah.
a pretty fucking good gig. It's like the songs are cool and the money is not bad at all.
And these bass parts aren't that hard.
Oh god. So anyway, Angela is screaming, you know, "Daddy, stop! No, no, no!"
Daddy, no.
There's holes in the walls, and there's like these like
I thought they were heads at first.
cylindrical things like pumping through them. It's a molestation room.
Yeah,
and then she's getting molested. She's getting
Yeah, I get it.
she's getting beat because like you fight the abstract daddy boss.
You've
It's like
apparently
a bed.
you find a newspaper clipping beforehand that I didn't find, but when reading through the walkthroughs, it says you find that details the fact that she was molested by her father and brother.
I forgot. Yes.
And her mother facilitated it.
Yes.
So I didn't have that context going into it. I got that context an hour before we started filming when I was reading that walkthrough. You know what I mean? Like,
So I'm looking it up. Like what you're talking about, there is like the news article where it says that, you know, the body of a man later identified as Thomas Orozco, Orosco.
Orozco.
Orozco. That's Angela's last name. That's her father, age 39, he's a lumberjack. Was discovered in the middle of his living room, lying face up. She stabbed him and slit his throat, then stabbed him in the torso multiple times. The novelization of Silent Hill 2 also says that she took care of her brother, but it does not go into detail.
Oh.
But it basically does imply that, that her family was physically and sexually abusing her.
And when if the mother wasn't actively facilitating it all the time, she was at the very least complacent. You know?
Right. I mean, it's a...
It's heavy subject matter. This game's heavy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking right now at Angela's bio on the Silent Hill wiki, and it's like, it seems
see if I can find the-
Angela never told anyone outside her family about her sexual and physical abuse, possibly out of fear that her father would retaliate against her, possibly out of embarrassment. Didn't have anyone to talk to. Angela's mother eventually left her family, leaving Angela alone with her father and brother. Well,
That's why she's looking for
Yes,
her.
with her
Okay.
mother's fate was unknown.
Because I didn't even find the clipping that said that stuff.
Right. It is unknown if Angela's mother is even alive during Silent Hill 2. It is possible that she left her family to go kill herself and hid her suicide from Angela and her brother to ease the burden. Man. Anyway,
Yeah, I'm like,
you know, she's the victim of abuse. So she's looking for her mother because she's been left alone with her father and abusive father and her brother who...
yeah,
You know, it seems like if anything, the brother could have been just taking after the father.
yeah.
You fight the mini boss, the abstract daddy,
You
who's
fight the abstract daddy.
similar to the pussy lip bed.
He is, but this one's not hanging from the ceiling.
Right.
This one's on the ground.
Are you okay?
And there's just like a lone TV in the room. It's very unnerving, that TV, for some reason.
Yeah.
It's just like an old tube TV.
Well, that's like unnerving imagery. You know what I mean? That I think that's one of those things that's just like in the zeitgeist, and because of that, we just kind of accept that.
I know.
A static TV alone in a room is scary for some reason.
Yeah,
Even
and
though
also, you know, well, I mean, back in the day,
there was definitely a time when that just meant that the program had ended.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
for me, growing up, I'm trying not to get too real and too deep here. Mm-hmm. There were plenty of times where I was alone or at a place. Maybe it wasn't the safest place, and I would, maybe turn on the TV to try to find some sort of entertainment or solace. But it was so late at night that the broadcast ended, and all I could find was static.
And you're sitting there in an uncomfortable
And that's just
scenario.
like there's no other light.
There's an abstract
just-
daddy
and it's just-
somewhere in the
yeah.
house, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like just the static on the TV. Like,
Yeah.
I think in 2001 it was probably more effective imagery in a very literal sense than it is now, where I think
Yeah.
in the zeitgeist, like you said, it has carried on. But like, back then it would have meant
Yeah, because TV
know.
static now is almost like not a thing. You know what I mean?
right. But that was normally, broadcasts, 24-hour broadcasts weren't necessarily a thing. There'd be a
programming block.
signal, maybe like a broadcast signal, like
Yeah.
what are they called? Like the Native American head or the bars or something. There were different versions of them.
I can't remember what it was.
But sometimes they would just go to static. So anyway, you kill the boss. She
blast
starts
him.
kicking the boss.
She's
and
kicking him in the belly,
screaming.
and then she grabs that TV and fucking like full force smashes it on the thing on the ground
Yeah.
again.
And you go to talk to her, and she's like, "Don't fucking touch me,
Yeah.
jackass!" And she's like, "I know what you want. You just want one thing." It's like, of course, Lauren Hill told us that thing.
That thing.
It's James is trying to get in her sugar walls.
Yeah.
And James is like, no, it's not like that. She's like, yeah, whatever, bitch. And she like runs away. But, it's, the game doesn't go out and say like, I was molested by my dad. But, she's like, oh, you could just like force me and beat me like he used to do.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and when you come into the room, the abstract daddy is like honor. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And like making like,
yeah, it's the only game I've ever played that has talked about sexual assault in a way that wasn't just used to be like, this character's at risk of being assaulted.
Yeah, yeah.
That's happened sometimes. Or this character's assaulted, you need to avenge them. This was like, here's what a victim of sexual assault might look like.
Yeah, I mean,
And,
you mean
like-
like actually addressing the
Like-
the psychological
Yeah.
and because just the whole when you come in, despite the fact that you clearly did just help her, that the response is don't touch me, get the fuck like that lack of that
That's
defensive
very
wall.
common.
That's like what you'd expect.
Yeah.
for someone to react. Yeah.
And she's also suspecting that you want to treat her the same way that he treated her.
Yes.
And James is like, what? I don't even know. Like, no, that's not.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to
I'm
help.
trying to find my dead wife.
Yeah. Pretty intense scene.
Very. Yeah. This was one of the darker moments.
then
There's a couple coming up soon.
She leaves, and you're just alone in this pulsing room.
Yeah.
And I think the game did a great job at addressing such a heavy topic without being too gratuitous, but also kind of like working its way around the censors in a way where it's like, obviously, like to me, the pulsing room is supposed to represent like some sort of sexual,
of
yeah.
yeah.
And it's like the imagery is enough. You don't need to like show her getting
And
fucking
especially-
molested.
Yeah, because especially in a game where it is, like we said earlier, so like hypersexual and hyperviolent, like that mesh of the two of those things.
Mm-hmm.
They could have very easily gone the wrong way with this scene. You know what I mean? With this
Totally.
whole section, but they didn't. I thought they handled it very tactfully while also making it have that same impact of, oh, this is fucked. You know what I mean? Like, this is making me deeply uncomfortable.
So, man, that's such a weird room. Shortly after this, you find the noose puzzle where there's like the 6 bodies and the 6 nooses, and like that shot of James like holding the noose, like he's, it's like that. It was really impactful.
It was. Yeah, especially it drags it out so
Yeah.
long. Because it really, like, in my mind, I would have gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just
And
treat it
then-
like a handle.
Yeah.
Like, oh, fuck it, this is my bus stop.
Yeah. But instead, it's like just literally him pulling it over. You know what I mean?
And it's
just
like-
representing.
Am I gonna kill myself?
Yeah.
I thought that could have been like
If you
an
pulled the wrong
end game
one.
scenario or something. Where
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna hang himself
Right, if you pulled the wrong one or whatever. Because it's like.
or anything. I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
maybe
yeah,
maybe
God knows.
narratively. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was just like, I was like, there feels like there could be great consequence to this.
Yeah. And I didn't find out because I picked the right one and I didn't test what would happen if I did another one.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened?
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to go back to the other room.
Right. I went back and forth a few times. Nothing happened.
Okay.
Yeah. You're just like, it was just wrong. Puzzle resets.
Okay.
So when we finally get back to Maria, she was on the other side of the bars. We had to go around to find her. She's dead. She's
Yeah.
on the bed, and to me, it looked like the blood was around her arm, as if she had slit her wrist. I don't know.
It might be confusing it with the other scene. Didn't she have blood like on her mouth too?
Oh, you're right. She did.
Yeah.
So she was. It's
Yeah, it was
ambiguous.
weird,
She's
yeah.
dead. We don't know why.
Yeah, and because in reality, like, I mean, if she died outside of the elevator like you thought, she got stabbed in the back. You know what I
Right.
mean? But then it's like the blood's. I
And if
don't
she died of natural causes, I mean, come on.
know. The blood would be covered in shit if she died
Right.
of natural causes. That'd be all. She
I can't help but think of Jeffrey Epstein when he so when we go out of that area, eventually we get to a graveyard shortly after.
Mm-hmm.
On the tombstones, there's Walter Kelly or wherever the fuck
Walter Sullivan,
right?
which is the guy who was the answer to the puzzle from earlier, if you remember.
There's Maria. There's all the people you've met.
And then you find
Eddie. Was there
there's-
a grave for Laura?
Well, there was. I don't remember finding anything for Laura.
I don't remember one for Laura either.
But there's specifically 3 fully dug graves for you, Eddie, and Maria.
Right.
Whereas the rest are just headstones. Like
but-
Walter Sullivan's is just a headstone.
But yours
Mm-hmm.
is an open grave,
It took me a minute to realize that, but yeah, it's a pit.
and you need to jive. You gotta jive into it. You gotta dive into it.
I had walked right past it to get like the ammo next to your tombstone.
Right.
And then, like walked back and then was like, where am I supposed to go here?
So when you jump into the grave, you wind up like basically in like a fucking meat locker with Eddie with
Yeah.
more bodies.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, "Hey, I'm just gonna fucking kill anybody that crosses me.
Yeah,
You
this
look
is
at
when
me
he
wrong,
does that
I'm
thing
gonna kill you."
where if he's like, you're gonna make fun of me? It's as easy as that. You know what I mean? And then he Bud Dwyer's himself, and then no, he doesn't do it. They would have made this scene way easier.
Yeah, no. And so you have a 2-phase fucking boss battle with him, where one you're in there, and then in the next room there's like a bunch of fucking large pieces of meat.
Yeah, it's just supposed to be like
it's a
cow.
meat. It's a meat freezer.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, just like cow bodies on the hooks.
Because he's a fat fuck.
Similar to the scene in Heavy Rain with Norman Jaden.
Oh yeah, when you're fighting the dude after you do that, have that calamitous chase through the grocery
Yeah, the
store.
chase, and then you get the slow battle in the fucking meat locker.
Yeah, and this was one of we mentioned it at the beginning, talking about I believe when we were talking about graphics and stuff. But this is one of those moments where both of these fights, like so effortlessly, transition from the cutscene immediately into the combat. That like it
Yes.
caught me off guard. Like I got hurt both times right away because he starts out right in front of you and you gotta move. You know what I mean? There is no hesitating. And I blasted him. Eddie was the one though that I ended up killing with the great knife, with Pyramid Head's knife. Because I was blasting him with the shotgun. I probably shot him like 8 times in that meat room. And I was like, fucking A, man, this is taking a long time. And he kept doing that thing where he'd run at you and then run away. And so I just stood there waiting with the great knife, and I tried to time it.
Cool.
I missed once, and then like the second or third time finally I timed it right and brought it down like right on top of him.
Nice.
And it killed him.
James feels very upset he finally killed a human.
Yeah, he feels, which is like, I mean, it's just killing. Killing's like breathing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Hey, it was you or him.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, though, it was like I get feeling bad, but to be immediately be like, I've killed a human. It's like, yeah, this guy was shooting at you. You know what I mean? Like he was trying to murder you. But also, I get that it's like I've finally been brought to this point.
Yeah. I didn't like it. I mean, I liked it, but I was like, ugh. This sucks. I wish it didn't come to this. You know,
Yeah.
it did have an effect on me.
It had me have that. I had that feeling afterwards that similar to how Spec Ops made me feel a couple times. You know what I mean? Where it made me think, was there another way I should have done this?
Right. I
You know what I mean?
thought like, oh, can I, you know?
Can I wait him out? Like, is there a time limit? Can I hit him with just the wooden board or something? You know what I mean? And then that'll, I don't know. But I had that regret of being like, did I really need to kill Eddie? But yeah, dude's crazy.
You have to.
And he reveals to you that he like killed his dog, or he killed his
I believe it's his football coach's
killed his
dog.
football coach's dog,
And then he killed his coach.
He maybe killed him. He shot him in the leg at least.
But that relates back to when you first find him, the
Yeah.
football room and shit. Mm-hmm. After this is where you get into the boat, which was such an odd part for me. I was so confused.
I probably spent 20 minutes. I mean, that's an exaggeration.
And when you finish the game, you get an end screen and you get all your scores. And one of your scores is how long the boat took you.
Yeah, it said time spent in the boat. Which I have that screenshot. I'll send it to you.
Cool.
So when we edit this, but I can't remember that. I took the screenshot though.
I was so confused by
I
this.
was very disoriented.
It is such a weird part. In retrospect, I was like, that was cool.
Yes. And it also tells you your top speed on the boat too. It tells you how fast you got on the boat. Which I got going pretty fast, I felt like. And it's because I ended up, it shows you where you are because you're in a boat, you're in a rowboat, and it's so foggy you can't see anything. And you can tell where you are because it kind of, when you go to your map, it shows that's the general area.
Right, and
you're
there is, in the distance, sometimes there's like a blinking like star.
There's like a light or something, like a lighthouse or something that I didn't realize.
I didn't see it for the longest time.
Fucking like at least 4 or 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
I was there for a while.
I went all the way to the top right of the map on accident.
I went way out of my way.
And then I was like, oh, I know how to turn around. And then I did. And then I was like, I'm probably there now. And I looked all the way on the left side of the map now. So then I had to like, and it was, in the turning, you like turn a little too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
works
awkward.
like a real boat.
It's a cool part, but it was very confusing.
Yes. I'll have more fun with it on my second playthrough. You know what I mean?
And you need to do the second playthrough to get some of the better endings, including the UFO ending.
Gotta get that UFO ending. Gotta get the UFO ending.
So you wind up at the Lakeview Hotel. Laura's there. She believes, she's like, I think she's saying like, oh, isn't Mary here? And
yeah,
like,
because Mary's supposed to
did
be
you find
there.
her or not? Like, she's supposed to be here. You're supposed to meet her here.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
And she finally gives you that letter she's been talking about for so long. And she's like, well, I have it here. Do you want to read it? And you're like, fucking yeah, idiot. The whole time I wanted to read it. Like, you dumb brat. You stupid, spoiled brat. Big yawn.
The hotel is a there's a thing where you gotta find 3 different music boxes, which seem to be like related to 3 fairy tale princesses.
It's Snow White, Cinderella, and somebody else I can't remember. Sleeping Beauty?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. Mm-hmm.
Popularized in American culture by Disney, but
classic.
definitely precedes Disney.
Yeah, they're just classic fairy tales.
Yeah, but I think the designs in these are vaguely reminiscent of the Disney designs. So it does seem like a nod to Disney, although it's not originated from them. You do find the VCR or the VHS tape.
Yes.
You need to find a VCR though. So you get the tape for a while before you even find the VCR.
It even took me a while because I thought I thought the reception area was the office, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, I was confused.
And then, so I thought I should have been able to find the videotape before I did, and then finally you get like, this one's cool. I liked the map in this one.
Yeah,
because it's like you get when you pick it up, you pick up the hotel guest map.
Yep, and there's a staff map as well, right?
And like the staff map on the guest map, all the staff areas are like just gray. And you're kind of like, at first I didn't get it, and then finally it clicked that I was like, oh, I need to find the staff map.
Like, why would the guests care to know
why
the
would
stuff
I
they can't access
where
anyway?
The boiler room is, yeah.
So eventually you do find a elevator that has a weight limit on it.
Yeah.
And you can only get on there by getting rid of all of your items, which was pretty intense.
Yeah, because I kept trying to keep something, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I was like, oh, okay, just keep one thing.
I couldn't keep the VHS tape. What if the VCR is here? You know what I mean? I'm like, what
No.
if I need that key that I had? Nope, too heavy. Apparently that 2-ounce key.
No,
Absolutely not. What if I want to keep my...
No.
What if the health kit? What if I want Emperor?
Do you not fucking understand what I'm saying?
And it's that annoying, like, fire alarm buzzer.
Yeah. I was like, okay, God, I get it. I get it.
I understand.
But you do go all the way around. You loop back. You find your way through. Blah blah blah. You can go back up, get your shit. You get to the VCR, and this is where like it's basically fucking. Imagine this is like.
And is this where it branches off?
To what?
The different potential endings.
Yeah.
Is what you see on the videotape?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so because
Okay.
from here on out it starts to differ.
But I didn't look into the different endings.
I'm pretty sure this is where because I think there's 2 slightly different versions of this scenario. Mm-hmm. But from here on out, you put the tape in, and it's like a home movie. And Mary's like, "Oh, are you filming again? Ha ha ha!"
Oh, put away that camera.
And it's like. And James suffocated Mary. He put a pillow over her face. And if you go into the game's data, people were able to find the original audio of the scene that was removed from the game, Because it's left a little vague.
Yeah.
You know what I heard?
The original audio
Area used to be a sacred
does not
place.
make it vague at all.
I can see why.
He violently murders her.
Yeah.
It is not a mercy kill.
It tries
really.
It tries to do this thing where like it kind of tries to play it off like it was a mercy kill, but there's a moment right after this.
Uh-huh.
You're walking through a hallway and you hear her voice talking to you.
Yep.
Did you hang out in there?
I did, and that's a big part of how you determine which ending you'll get.
Oh, okay, because I listened to the whole thing.
I did too.
I listened to her all the way through. And it starts out with she's like, I just wish I'd die.
Well, let's wait. Let's
okay,
get to
sorry.
it. So, the video shows.
Yeah, you suffocate your
Yeah,
wife with a pillow.
yeah, with a pillow.
Uh-huh. Your sick, dying wife who just needs you.
And then you're like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
And now everything, it puts the whole rest of the fucking game in different context.
And Laura comes into the room and is like, "Did you find her, James?
Yeah, she's like hiding behind the piano.
Yeah.
Just like a boink. You're like, huh?
Did you find her, James?"
And you're like, no, Mary's dead. And she's
I
like,
killed her.
and she's like, I hate you.
I told you never loved her.
Yeah.
All that stuff I
She
said
leaves.
was true. She gets fucked out of there.
She's fine. She's gone.
She'll be good. She's been good the whole time. What's going to change now?
She hit the road jack.
Don't you come back no more.
James then hears Mary's voice on the radio. That garbled message from when you first picked up the radio
Oh, yeah,
comes
yeah.
back in. James, where are you? Like, do you hate me? What's going on? What? Don't like save me. You exit that room. You're in the other hotel, in the Otherworld Hotel. This is where, if you're on New Game Plus, you did things right. You go into the observation room. You can end it and find the dog ending. You know what I mean? Which is the dog ending.
Look up the dog. Look up the dog ending. It's great. It's great. It's 10 out of 10. It's the ending I wish I could have every time.
Yeah, it's a great ending.
It's very Wizard of Oz.
But you go to the study eventually. You have to do a couple steps to get there. But
Yep.
yeah, an audio recording plays where it's like it's James talking to a doctor and it's like her condition's terminal. We can't do anything. He's like, you're a doctor. You didn't do anything right. And then James, is talking to Mary and she's like, I hate you. Like, you should just go away. Like,
I wish I'd die.
yeah. And then she's like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. Please stay.
Yeah, she's wait, James, come back.
Yeah.
This is a heavy audio
Yeah.
clip.
So you can skip this or you can stay through it,
Yeah.
but you listen to it all.
I listened to all of it, and it gets to the point where, because it clearly wants you to wonder whether or not James did the right thing by killing her. It clearly wants you to go.
Maybe she wanted to die.
Yeah, it clearly. But in this one, she explicitly, if you listen long enough, she explicitly goes, I'm so scared, James. I don't want to die. Please help me. You know what I mean? I don't know what to do. Which is like a very sad, very real, you know what I mean? Very, very real thing. And like,
They want to keep me alive.
it makes you be like, James, man, you should feel horrible for this, because it's starting to feel more like
Don't come back.
you were just sick of taking care of your annoying sick wife. You know what I mean? It seems like you were, and she's like, I'm sorry, I know it was mean. She like covers
And that gets deeper into that too
and
at
that's
the end.
fair, but it's like, man,
Well, we soon see Angela on a flaming staircase.
yes,
She's like, Mama.
It's
And
a
she goes, oh,
fabulous
it's you.
staircase.
She goes, like, you're the last one left, basically.
yeah.
Maybe I can finally get some rest. Which I was like, what is that? Are you going to kill her too? I didn't really understand.
I didn't
The way
get
she
that
was,
either.
because I think what she literally says is, you're the last one left. Like, maybe now I can finally get some rest. Like, as if, like, I already took care of my brother and father. Once I kill you,
Yeah.
I'm done.
I figure it could be that, or it's just more like now that she knows. You know what I mean?
Right. It could be taken either way, which
Yeah.
is it's intentionally left vague.
There's a lot of this stuff that is very much left open because it's like you said earlier. You're supposed to kind of put your own assumption of what's evil or what's, you know what I mean, this or that into it. And yeah, I don't know. I thought more. She's like, I know what happened to everybody now. But then she gets like, yeah, no. I love that. You're not my mama.
Right. She she has to like basically hold James's face in her hands.
Yeah, like she like feels that it's so weird. She's like, you're not my mom.
Yeah. And she's like, and James is like, I can't do anything for you.
Yeah.
She goes, well, then
me
can I
back
have my
that
knife
knife
back? Yeah. Give me back my knife. I'm doing Leonard Skinner. Give me back my
that.
bullet.
That knife. Give me that. That knife.
I'm sorry, I just started thinking about different Eazy-E songs I like.
That would fit into Silent Hill, maybe.
I was trying. Most of them are way too offensive to fit in. And James is like, ugh, it's hot as hell in here. And she's like, oh, you see it too? It's like this for me all the time. And she's like, well, I'm gonna myself now, and just like she doesn't say it, but she just like she like ascends up the flaming staircase and just stands at the top and burns.
Yeah.
And James is like, well, I guess I have to just walk away now.
I tried to go up the stairs.
I tried too. Can't
You can't.
help her.
There's no way around it.
She's done. Angela Orozco, a great she's done.
Heat by Al Pacino. Fucking check it out. Not by Al Pacino.
Michael Mann.
Starring Al Pacino. Sorry, by Michael Mann.
It's shortly after here you find the 9 red squares, which
Yes.
was we earlier showcased in that great merchandise. So the red square in the first game, it's a red notebook,
Yeah.
and here it's a red square. And you notice that the first one he sees is in a well. He doesn't actually touch it. It's
No,
like
he
deep
can't
in a well.
interact with it, yeah.
So he sees it, and that's how he interacts with it. And that noise it makes is really great. I think the save system's really sick. Don't look out there. But it was noted that, like, you know, hey, we don't really want to talk about it, but yes, there is a significance to the red square and the number 9 and everything. There's 9 main enemies that James faces throughout the game,
Oh, okay.
which are the 9, like, manifestations of those, you know, traumas or whatever.
Right, if everybody's...
So it's interesting to think about, you know, is that exactly what it means? Like, are those each representing the 9 enemy types? There's
or it's like representative of his trauma, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
what
he's
is there?
finally at the end there. And
there's the nurses,
nurses,
the
there's
mannequins,
then there's
there's Pyramid Head,
the crawly guys.
Crawly guys.
You have those scutter bugs. Then you've got Abstract Daddy. You've got Pussy Lips. You've got Final Boss. Can you
Sure.
count Final Boss. Eddie.
I don't know. I wouldn't count him.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd count Eddie either.
There's the suction cup arm things.
Suction cup arm things, which we didn't cover at all, really.
We talked about it briefly.
Yeah, they're not really that big a deal, though.
And the other one.
The bugs?
Sure, we'll say bugs. I don't know what they're. Someone listed them somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, yeah,
gotta be- there's one I'm forgetting.
that's they've Masahiro Oto, is that what's his last name? I don't remember his last name. But he's one of the main the character designer.
Oh, I definitely won't know.
Oh, he's on Twitter. He talks about Silent Hill and stuff. He's been like, here's some hints, but we're not gonna fucking tell you everything.
I'm gonna spoon feed it to you, you fucking idiot.
But I was like, well, there's 9 squares. This is probably the final save point.
Yeah,
And it is.
I thought maybe I was like,
And it is.
I was curious because obviously we're playing an enhanced edition of a re-release. You know what I mean? So it's like a modded version of not the original game. Can you only save at those red points normally?
Well, no. In the PC port, I think, and some other later versions, they added like a quick save.
yeah, because we had the quick save available, but I didn't know
I didn't know that.
if you hit back, it brings you to the start menu, and there's a save game option. They don't let you save the game everywhere though. You can't save during boss fights. You know what I mean? There's certain moments they won't let
I
you
only
quick save.
saved at the red squares.
Oh, I kept quick saving. Yeah, you can quick save. Sorry. It probably made the game a little bit more, you know what I mean? Difficult. for
Shitty?
you. Yeah, it's like hard and not fun. Unenjoyable.
I had a great time. But the next scene basically is 2 pyramid heads have inverted Maria and are torturing her and execute her in front of you.
Yeah. So this is now the 3rd time you've watched her
Yeah.
die? Well, I guess you didn't watch her die.
Second time you watch her die, 3rd time you've seen her dead.
Yes.
To make the distinction.
Yeah, and it hits you just as hard this time because you fucking just hit your knees.
Right, but at that point he's like, basically says like, I understand what I've done. I'm ready
Yeah.
to be punished for my sins or
Judge
something.
me.
Yeah, he gets it. And so you fight 2 pyramid heads, and after you beat them,
I fucking rifled them all the way, dude.
yeah, me too.
Rifle all the
They
way.
fucking-
It's the first
they-
time I used the rifle in the game.
They get in place and they fucking fall on their own spears and sacrifice themselves because, so here's the thing, like Pyramid Head was a very popular character, but canonically and from the creator's point of view, that character exists in James's mind. That is not supposed to be a recurring character, although it was due to its popularity.
Yeah.
That won out. But, you know, it looks like a big cock in a lot of ways. You know, it's supposed to represent, I think, to a degree, James's sexual frustration and everything.
Well, yeah, and just like his, like, I'll use the word, his cocksuredness, you know what I mean?
Right.
He's, like, he's just very pig-headed in a lot of times, and he's very, like, unwilling to bend, like, just not, like, groveling to Laura for half a second to not have to get out of a room. All of those things that show that how he's just so stubborn and hard-headed, you could say.
Yeah. With a little sexual twist.
And, like, the glands looks a little bit like a pyramid.
Yeah. So, there's no need for them anymore. Now that he's come to terms with his wrongdoings.
Yeah.
You go through and you're on a rooftop and you see Mary. And you're like, Mary? And it's like, I'm not Mary. Look like Mary, but I'm Maria how
do you keep making this fucking mistake, you idiot?
It's like, well, you're wearing her clothes this time.
Mm-hmm. And then she starts going on well, why couldn't I be Mary? You know what I mean? I'd never be mean to you. I'd always be good to you. Because it seems like I can't tell if Maria is another character, like Eddie or Laura or Angela, or if Maria is a manifestation of, like, your idealized Mary.
So one thing that confuses this is that, and we didn't play through this, but in later editions of the game, and it is available in the Enhanced Edition,
I saw it.
there's a Mary-focused DLC that shows her
Done with you.
going to Silent Hill and having an adventure leading up to the moment she meets James.
Okay.
So does that imply that she exists outside of James's psyche? I would say so.
Yes.
As
But
much
she-
as anyone
yeah.
else in Silent Hill does.
But she also seems to represent his idealized form of Mary because
Right,
she is.
and
She's more sexual.
I also think
She's
her
slightly, you know what I mean?
her physical appearance to him could be altered
That's
from
fair,
his perception.
because she doesn't get why he keeps. In the same way that Angela looked at you and went, "Mama." Yeah,
Exactly.
That's fair. That's fair. That's
So
that's a really good
I
point.
think she could be her own person, but maybe James is just using her in a different way because he doesn't have any control over how he sees her.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. And just because she's like a blonde woman, he's
Yeah.
like, Mary? Yeah.
But you reject her, and she transforms, and almost looks like a nun or something for a moment. She has
Yeah.
like the habit. And
She's breaking the habit.
I also got
Sister Act
I also
2.
got hints of
Back in the habit.
Gillespie there.
Yeah. Little Donna Gillespie moment.
Little
Just because
Dizzy
she had
Gillespie.
like the little Dizzy Gillespie.
She also had a very like nunnish kind of look.
Yeah, well, she had the robes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean, the whole time.
And then she turns into her own kind of like weird folding bed boss.
Abstract dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one thing that I did notice is, I mean, like, I guess it makes sense because it's a manifestation of James's guilt and trauma and stuff. And
Well, and Mary was on a bed like that when she died.
Yeah, but I guess that's exactly what I was going to get to. Is I'm like, it's not only that she died on the bed, but also like his clearly sexual frustration. You know what I mean? Which generally bed symbol of sexuality and stuff. And, you know, so I thought it was weird. It's just clicking for me. Where I was like, why are all these things like in a box? And then I was like, oh, they're bed frames.
They're all bed frames
They're all bed
because
frames.
that's because he wants to fuck.
But also, he watched his wife die, and then
He
watched
killed her.
slowly die, and then killed her
In the
in a
bed.
bed. Yeah,
Probably fucked her in the bed.
probably tried to.
Wanted to a lot
Wanted
more
to.
probably.
Yeah,
He's
wanted
a horny
to way
guy.
more than she was able to because she's
Yeah.
sick. You know what I mean? It's hard to get. Sometimes I got like the sniffles, and I'm like, I'm not in the mood. you know?
Sometimes when I'm sick, all I want to do is bust.
There's also that, which they don't want to usually. Don't get me sick.
Doctors don't want you to
I
know.
won't kiss you.
That's the key.
That's the key. It's just, you have to get the poison out of you through your balls. Hey guys, next time you're sick, make sure your woman knows she's just not draining the poison out of you enough. Let her know it's because she's not putting out enough. That
So-
bitch.
What was your ending?
What was my ending?
So after you killed Evil Mary, Evil Bed Mary,
Evil woman.
Evil Bed Mary.
No, my ending is it just kind of pans up at the cemetery. I believe it's the cemetery you met Angela in. And it pans out as it's like Mary's reading a note to you that she wrote before she died.
It's the rest of the letter.
Oh, okay, the
You-
one that Laura lost?
No, the letter that you start with.
Oh, okay. I couldn't figure out what it was. It's because she says in it that it's a letter. She's like, I gave this to the nurse to give to you if I die.
Right.
So if you're reading this,
So James has the letter, but for some reason, up until the end of the game, he can't see the rest of it.
oh, I guess
And-
I missed
and-
that, like specific.
I don't know if you noticed, but over time, the letter disappears if you look at it too many times and shit.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't look at
You
it.
eventually
again in
don't.
the-
You eventually lose the letter.
I didn't look at it in the inventory.
Oh.
Again, after I looked at it a couple times at the beginning, I think, and then I didn't look back at it again. That's a really, really, really cool feature. That's super fucking cool. Oh. But no, it's just me. It starts out and it's just James walking out of Silent Hill. He's just leaving, walking through the cemetery. It seems like he's leaving, you'd imagine, you know what I mean? And then he walks for a little bit, and then Laura comes into frame. Also leaving. And the two of you just walk out of Silent Hill.
You and Laura?
Yeah, Laura's like behind you by a handful of paces. And you both just walk out of Silent Hill while Mary reads one of the saddest fucking letters I've ever heard in my life.
From what I've heard, and this is anecdotal, so take it for what it is, but the voice actor like broke down reading that. Like it was.
Yeah, I would have too. I almost cried.
She's basically like, I know that like in my terminal illness, I lashed out at you. I'm so sorry that like I basically.
I don't even want to like...
I'm your
getting-
wife. Like I was dying. I took everything from you because like you had to like assist me in my death. Basically like trying to be there with me and I lashed out at you and I
pushed away
you know,
everyone
I couldn't.
loved,
I
but-
couldn't. I literally can't give anything back to you. And I took everything from you. I'm so sorry.
And the only thing I get back to you is hate and anger,
Yeah.
which I wish I hadn't, but I couldn't do anything to stop in the moment.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
She's
it's
like trying to deal with a terminal illness.
fuck, man.
It's very rough.
It was like...
And the reading is intense. I haven't heard it in
She-
Japanese, but like in
she
the,
does an incredible... The woman who's
Yeah.
reading it, I wonder... Like, if she broke down the middle, makes sense, because she was doing a great job. And I need you to know, it was like 1:30 in the morning last night as I'm watching this. And I ended up staying up till 5 organizing my Pokemon card collection. So I needed to do something after this. Like, I was sitting there in my computer chair, and it's just reading off, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm just like... Like,
Yeah.
I'm just like slowly sinking more and more into my chair, just like I was kind of disassociating during this part. You know what I mean? Because it is, God damn it, is it well written and well read.
So you have the ending, I think, called Leave. So James reaches
Leave, yes, that's it,
James
yeah.
reaches the hotel rooftop and sees a woman whom he mistakes for his late wife, yet it is not Mary, it's instead of vindictive Maria, who then makes a final attempt to get James to accept her. James rebuffs her. However, she turns into a monster, similar to the hanging monsters in the hospital, becoming the final boss. Upon her defeat, James is granted a final meeting with Mary, who gives him a letter. James then leaves Silent Hill together with Laura.
Oh yeah, you see her in the bed. I guess I didn't.
Right, she's in the bed, she gives you the
I
letter.
didn't consider that wouldn't be part of everybody.
So to get that, you need to keep your health high, heal frequently if you're injured, check Mary's photo and letter, don't spend too much time with Maria, and in the hotel, listen to the headphones and the hallway conversation.
I did. I listened to the whole conversation. I did not check on Maria like you did in the hotel. I mean, in the hospital. You know how you said you went to check back in on her? Yeah. Didn't do that at any point. Left her behind all the time. Didn't linger in those rooms. And every time I took damage, I'd use a healing thing because I had so many health things. So that makes sense.
So I got in water.
Okay, walk me through it. Let me cough first, probably. Also, my stomach's just been going... You probably won't come up on the mics, but Matt's been hearing it.
Upon the defeat of the boss, James is granted a final meeting with Mary. She tells James that he has suffered enough for killing her and gives him the letter. Mary violently coughs and dies again as James holds her hand.
Mary?
James arrives at the conclusion he's unable to live without Mary, realizing that he came to Silent Hill to commit
He's fucking crazy.
He then drowns himself by driving into the lake with his wife's corpse in the back seat so that they can be together in death. A view from under the lake with bubbles rising to the surface is seen, and a song plays. So he takes her corpse, puts in the car, fucking...
What's the good ending?
That's why I did it, honey.
Is there a good ending?
You kind of got the good ending.
I guess he got to leave.
Yeah, so did Laura.
No.
So to do that, I had to keep health low, and I don't heal quickly if I am injured. I have to check Angela's knife, which I did. I have to read the patient's diary on the roof at the hospital.
I didn't do that then.
Before Pyramid Head pushes you off, you can find a note.
Oh, I didn't find it. Yeah. I did check Angela's knife, though, so it must be...
You have to read the second message to James in Neely's bar, which, like, when you go... I think it's before you get to the prison and shit, you can go back to the bar.
Well, you have to come back through the bar at one point, right? Like you pop up behind the
I
bar.
can't remember, but there's like a message you can read or not read.
Oh, okay.
And also listen to the conversation.
Yeah. I listened to the conversation because with that stuff, it's just kind of like, that's just what you know what I mean? I'm like, I'd like to see where this goes, you know?
So there's another ending called Maria, in which,
Now we can be
you finish the boss, you're back at the Rosewater Park, and you're staring into the water. Maria shows up. She goes, "Oh, did you kill Mary again?" He goes, "That wasn't Mary. It was just a hallucination or something." Mm-hmm. And they leave together. But as they start to leave, Maria starts coughing the same way Mary was coughing, implying that the cycle
He's just going to do the
continues.
same thing again, yeah.
So New Game Plus ending that's available is Rebirth, where James kills Maria. He then rows a boat with his wife's corpse to the Church of Rebirth on Toluca Lake Island to use several objects that he collected throughout the campaign to do a rebirth.
Fucking reviver
Yeah, there's a rebirth
ritual. Oh, is that kind
ritual.
of like what they did with in the first game to like create Alessa or whatever?
Yeah, and I think that in the Maria DLC they also talk about the resurrection ritual.
Okay.
There's also, like we said, the dog ending, which again is a New Game Plus ending where you find out that the whole thing was controlled by a little puppy.
Yeah, it's like a Wizard of Oz scenario where it's like there's a guy in a room, but it's like a Shiba Inu
Yeah,
with headphones on.
on like a big computer.
Yeah, like pulling cranks, and he like, huh?
The last ending, the very last ending available is the UFO ending. Mm-hmm. In which I don't know if have you seen this one?
I haven't seen the UFO one. I've seen the dog ending because that's iconic. You know what I mean? But
Right. The UFO ending. James is abducted by a group of aliens. So we just showed it on screen, but as you can see, you know, Harry Mason and his PS1 glory shows up. I love that James is like, what? Anyway, listen to me. I'm the one looking for someone.
It's like if they made Heavy Rain 2 and like one of the alternate endings was just like him screaming Jason into the abyss forever. You know what I mean? Like, Jason!
Some other protagonist, unrelated, just shows up and like, he's like, hey, can you help me? And Ethan's just like, what? Shut up. Where's Jason?
Yeah. But fucking, I don't know. Just to be for Harry Mason to walk up to James and go, have you seen a little girl around here? Short, black hair.
I love that Harry's working with the aliens to abduct James.
And to maybe find his daughter still.
Right, maybe. Who knows?
Because in that one, he never finds out what's going on in Silent Hill. He gets abducted before he learns what's actually going on. So he's still looking for his daughter with these aliens.
Well, we didn't do the DLC, which kind of feels like we're doing a disservice to the game, but also it didn't come with the original version of the game. I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah, I didn't. I like started it last night and then didn't end up playing it because I was like, I need a palate cleanser.
I forgot about it. I forgot all about it.
Yeah.
Because I think the first one's called like Letters from Silent Hill or something, and
yeah, the other one, it says like sub story or whatever, but I didn't check it out. I might end up getting to it, but I don't know.
I probably won't. I'll probably watch a walkthrough or something.
I'm going to tell you guys I'm going to play it. I'll never do it, though.
Although I might. Because, I mean, this game is really good.
Yeah, it is very good. But I also said I was going to do a New Game Plus to Silent Hill 1, and I got about halfway through that, and then got busy.
And also, like, as much as I think, like, the DLCs are integral to the understanding of Alan Wake, they're not that good.
I didn't do American Nightmare, and I still feel like I'm...
Oh, it's so much fun, though. I do think American Nightmare is worth it. It is a blast.
I still might.
It's just because it's like it's the same game, but with the combat actually being fun.
Okay.
Where you know,
Yeah, the combat's a little stiff.
it's like if Alan Wake was an arena shooter. You know, it's
Yeah,
just
okay.
like it's just like it's a shooter. It's a fun shooter instead of anything else. So that's Silent Hill 2.
That's it, baby. That's the.
Do you have any final thoughts about the game? No. I get why people love it. I get why people are skeptical about the remake and shit. It's like it's a classic. It's got incredible atmosphere from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Every aspect of the game is like feels meticulously planned, and it's a brilliant piece of work. It's very good.
It's one of the most put together games I've ever played. Like the way that this game is constructed, the aspects of it, and like the sense of humor of the developers.
Yep.
It's like top 5 for me.
Yeah, for
You know
sure.
what I mean? As
And
far as,
even like the menus, the sound, the save system,
the fact that you can fucking pick the difficult. I'll say it for the 7th
Yes,
time. You
so
can
good.
pick the difficulties of the puzzles versus the
they
combat.
really knew like
Like-
what you know. It's like I might be attracted to this, but like I'm not so good at those fucking riddles. Cool, we got you.
Because I'm sure Silent Hill 1 was so scary that it probably stopped a lot of people from playing it. So for
Yeah.
them to say, hey, it doesn't have to be as scary. It can be a little easier for you.
Also, hats off for
The back of my head's rough. It's all razor burn right now.
but no, really, for like tackling such disturbing subject matter in a way that didn't feel exploitative or cheap.
Yes. That's the main thing that I think is a good takeaway from this, is that like it's very heavy. They covered a lot of very difficult but real topics.
It's a very adult game.
Yeah, and they really did it all very, very, very well.
I kind of feel like, we both talked about how we hadn't played this series until this year. Part of the reason why I was turned off is that I said to you, it didn't really feel cool. Like Resident Evil is like, it's zombies, it's survival horror, and this was like, I knew there was like this deeper psychological horror thing to it, and I knew it was like a deeper emotional story, and I was kind of like, I don't know if it was gonna be some kind of like fucking, like JRPG thing where sometimes those stories are like a little too sentimental. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't care about like the little boy overcoming adversity to become the warrior or something. You know what I mean? Like sometimes those like emotional games are just kind of like, it's emotional, but to what end? It's like kind of lame.
And can my 12-year-old body relate to the, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I just want to...
As a kid especially, I was kind of like, it just kind of seemed like, like as a kid, I didn't want to watch dramas.
This was a game that, like, I
watched
remember...
Kramer vs. Kramer.
Like, I remember my dad was, like, in his late 30s when this game came out, maybe just pushing 40, and it was, like, he thought this was the greatest game he'd ever seen. You know what I mean? He didn't play it, but he watched friends play it, and he was like, this is the pinnacle, you know what I mean, of what video games
where
can
it's
be.
at.
I got to turn
Yeah, totally.
bottles in hands.
But I can see why, it's been literally 20...
It's been 21 years.
Yeah, 21.
2001. The number 23. It's Jim Carrey.
21 Savage.
Go to him, 21.
Man, 21 and Nas just dropped a track together that's like pretty good.
Is it?
It's like pretty... I was like, wow, this is pretty good.
I was really let down by Nas's entire most recent album.
The King's Tomb 3 or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what it's called. Yeah,
King's
his
something.
newest album.
Yeah, the one that just came out like a week ago.
It just came out like a week ago.
He
Is there
might have a
another one?
new... He's
might
been
have-
dropping records
I know he
very
puts out
consistently.
a lot. This one came out probably 3 months ago.
No, there's a brand new one.
This last one that he put out was, I was like, it was fine.
Yeah, I listened to it and I went,
anything.
cool. All of that was super competent.
Yeah, that was.
And I could easily never hear it again. And also, if you asked me to tell you the hook or like hum any of the songs or
If you asked me to
any
critique
of the beats,
yeah.
I'd be like, I don't know.
If you asked me to critique it, I couldn't.
It's
Then if you asked me if it was good, I'd have nothing for you.
I'd be like, it was definitely well made. It was good MCing, good beats, completely nondescript. It felt like the most generic shit made with skill I've heard ever.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It feels like there's not really any.
Yeah.
It felt like there just wasn't passion behind it.
No,
to a degree, you know what I mean?
2 tracks I've heard from the new one, both sound pretty good.
Okay.
We'll see if that can actually
check
carry
'em-
across
I'll
the whole
check 'em
record. I'm skeptical as hell because
I still haven't listened to the Drake and 21 Savage album, so
I haven't either.
yeah, that might have just been an EP or something too, but I could be wrong.
Anyway,
Obviously, any Drake music.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I could see people 21 years ago being like, oh man, this is like where like games are headed. This is
Yeah.
great. And then it's like, no, actually it wasn't.
It wasn't at all.
It is not.
It took a very different direction. I mean, I feel like this,
so much so that it's like, yeah, we'll make 2 more of these and then nothing for 20 years.
Yeah, yeah, because we couldn't possibly create something close to what we'd want to and have it receive any amount of success.
Like the psychological horror and some of the darker themes of Alan Wake, of like the alcoholism and the abuse, definitely do touch on it.
I would definitely say
Not
that,
to the
like,
same degree.
because even like I'd say as a whole, like we started moving back towards that with like Outlast. You know what I mean? I'd say that was probably right when it started happening, because that was also right when they decided to maybe do PT2 was a little bit after that.
Outlast feels like it has no heart.
Well, that's what I mean, is I feel like that's what started getting us back into that survival horror-y kind of thing. And it started, because that did cover more heavy
intense themes.
Yeah, but like not, and like you said, not in a way that had heart or that felt like real. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
nothing
I
very
play
human
games
about
that
it.
talk about like and generational trauma and stuff, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, cool, this is gross.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas like Silent Hill really managed to. We've mentioned it before, but it's very tactful. They do it well. It's very real. It's very human.
I think too the fact that the protagonist is guilty.
Yeah, and not
Uh,
like in denial of it. Not like
No.
It's not like, no, I'm doing the right thing.
But it really forces you to confront those things on your own terms. It's like, well, you just spent all this time with him. Do you think he's a bad guy because of what he did?
Yeah.
Or do you not?
Exactly.
You know? Like, and it's not just like, if I
It's
just saw a
thought-provoking.
criminal commit an act, like, yeah, that's a criminal. But it's like, if I knew that guy and went through a great, crazy experience with him, and then I found out he did something bad, I'm like, oh, I gotta, like, stomach that now and, like, interpret
Yeah.
what that was. How does that affect my perception of this person that I've
Mm-hmm.
established a connection to? That doesn't happen in a ton of games or storytelling in general. It's not a very safe way to tell stories.
Yeah, because you're taking a big risk by doing that, by allowing the reader or just the consumer of whatever it is to insert themselves and insert their own like potential bias, you know what I mean, to it, but also I don't know.
And to feel alienated by the work in a way where it's like,
Yes.
oh, you tricked me, you know?
Yeah, or you have the possibility too, probably I'm sure, of triggering people occasionally, you know what I mean?
The game, I'm assuming the new version will have trigger warnings, like where the epilepsy warning is.
Yeah,
there's gonna be.
it'll be like there's gonna be subject matter in here that
So
like
I remember there was a trigger warning on Silent Hill 1. I don't remember one on this game, but not to say it wasn't there.
Yeah, I don't.
But there was
recall it,
like
but
this game.
We also played
contains-
the enhanced.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? We
true.
didn't play the original.
All right, I saved a screenshot of Silent Hill 1. There's like a trigger warning on that game. I was like, that's kind of intense. I remember seeing that in a lot of
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
games.
It makes sense. It's heavy shit, man. I
Yeah.
think they nailed it though. I guess final thoughts are I get it. I
Yeah,
get it.
deserving of the praise.
Yeah.
Full-
Really,
through and
maybe
through.
one of my probably going to be added to my top 10 games now that I've played. I really loved it.
You interested in 3 and 4?
I'd like to see what they're about,
That's
I'd
how
like
I
to-
feel.
yeah.
I go. You know, I'm curious.
but I'm only hesitant because I've never heard the same things about them as I have. You know
I've
what I
gotten
mean?
deeper into the community, just like doing research.
Yeah.
It's split. Some people think
Okay.
that those games continue a formidable legacy, and others think that they're trash. And I go,
Yeah.
damn, that's really the kind of where I go. If I see those two super conflicting opinions from people
Yeah.
who are super deep into a thing, I gotta just find out.
You got to find out for yourself at that point.
Yeah.
I know Maria really liked them. She played because 3 and the one for the DS were the only two that she had played, and she said 3 was really good. I mean,
But is
that's-
it good compared to 2?
I know that's the thing is she doesn't have the context of the other ones, so that's why I'm like.
See, I
know.
could see any of them, and that's another thing I've seen is like some people are like, yeah, it's not Silent Hill 2, but it's still really good.
Yeah, well, but that's one of those things where like, yeah, it's not something, but like, do you want them to? I do want them to just make it. I don't know.
I'd be
man.
fine if it was just the end of the series.
Yeah, but I would also be cool with Silent Hill 2 being the end.
Because there is another
Yeah.
game from a lot of the people that worked on this.
What is that?
I'll look it up. I'll
okay,
put the title in here.
Okay,
Um,
'cause I'll check that out.
you know, I'm curious about it too, but
Yeah.
it is not as popular because I think it's it's a little more weird and it doesn't have the brand thing.
You don't have the brand
I think it was
thing,
bigger in Japan from what I remember. But anyway, thanks for watching. obviously, if you like it, you know what to do. You can support us on Patreon. You can go to the links below and get a bunch more stuff. And if you want more of these, just subscribe. There's a bunch. There's a big backlog. There's a big log in the back.
Thanks for watching, everybody. My head itches a lot. And it hurts to itch.